Welcome back to the Comics Aficionados right here on Thinking Critical YouTube. We've got a fantastic panel to talk about all things nerdy, geeky, comic book stuff. And I hope everyone's having a fantastic weekend. Not a lot of news came out, but there were a lot of people bagging on fans this week. So we'll definitely get into all those kind of conversations. And returning to the channel triumphantly is Josh McDonald. I'm glad that you could fit us into your schedule again.
Thank you. Yeah, no, I'm always happy to be here. As long as I don't have that pesky day job in the way, I'm happy to be here. So glad I'm here. Gonna have fun. It's been a busy freaking week, man. The only day I have not streamed this week was Wednesday, and even then, I didn't stream. But we have a comic book club at my comic shop, and we did that Wednesday night. So I'm probably gonna do this and then go like, what do they call it? Rot? Is that what the kids say these days? I'm just going to go rot for the rest of the weekend.
I don't know what that means. Dylan, explain to me what that means.
I think it's house rot. I think
doctor.
Does that mean like chill?
Yeah.
Yeah, just go sit your fat ass on a couch.
Yeah.
Don't do anything. It's
Like
essentially
rotten bed,
bed.
yeah.
It's the shortened version of like bed rot or couch rot.
Mm-hmm.
Oh.
Yeah,
It's better than crotch rot. I swear, I got that once.
Oh yeah, I think we all had that in our 20s.
Yeah, tough acting to enacting. It works.
I've never had that.
I'm kidding. My joke's
Apparently,
fine.
you weren't whoring around enough.
Oh,
I mean, or I was a little fussier. I don't know.
I have some standards, man.
A little more careful.
I can already tell this is going to be an amazing show.
it's going to be a wild one.
It started off weird. It's getting weirder.
It's gonna turn into Hookers Aficionados. Here on Hookers Aficionados.
So you have like a comic book reading club, kind of like the Babysitters Club on Mondays, where you and your nerds like get together and like sit around and read books together?
No, every other Wednesday. So my local comic shop, they were looking for ways to try to kind of like rejuvenate some business. So we launched a comic book club that we do every other Wednesday. So we'll read a graphic novel and discuss it. And it's been pretty fun, pretty cool. We're getting to roughly 20-25 people each week that come in, and we're slowly getting people that are new to comics coming in. So it's been a fun process. Yeah. Like I can't complain.
Well, what did you read this week? What was the big graphic novel?
It was The Long Halloween. So we did that one. Yeah, I know, right?
That's a long one.
That's fantastic.
Yeah, it was a fun time.
Perhaps the greatest Batman story of all time. It's definitely in the top 5 for me.
I would say top 5 as well. Yeah, I'd probably throw it up there.
And I even think Dark Victory is probably like it's equal as far as
Agreed. Agreed. I think in some ways Dark Victory is better to a degree, but
yeah, I think the inclusion of Robin in that one and the role that he plays like really elevates it for me at least. 'Cause I like Batman and Robin together.
Same. When it's done well. Yes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. That's why I'm loving that Batman and Robin series. It's like it's the hottest thing at DC these days.
Yeah.
That or Green Lantern.
Yes. Both are excellent.
Yeah. And nothing else going on in your life, Josh? Are you preparing, for this big trip that we're all going to be taking?
Yeah, preparing for Dallas. I'm looking forward to that. Of course, we got everything going on the channel. So we just launched a new series. It'll be a weekly series on Thursdays, 2 days ago. And that's Floppy Drop. So I'm getting back into the weekly comic book conversation, Wes. You'll be excited to know that I'm going to keep up with new comics again.
This wasn't the week to do it.
No, it was not. It was not the week to start, but it was a clean start.
Last week
for the
was
month
worse,
of May.
but there was a 5th release week.
Yeah, no. Well, they squeezed a lot into that 5th release week. Unfortunately, it wasn't
DC
the right
did,
stuff.
Marvel did.
Yep. I mean, it seemed like Marvel realized Free Comic Book Day was coming up. They're like, "Oh, let's get as much on the stands." They just happened to put a bunch of shit on the stands. So,
man.
Well, what are they doing besides? What are they doing besides shit these days?
Like, I mean, really nothing.
It's rare to find that nugget of corn.
Yes, I mean, I think the one thing that I don't hate from Marvel is Ultimate Wolverine, but even that, I'm like, yeah, it's aight.
Have you read the Aliens versus Avengers book from Hickman?
Yes. So I'm actually really liking that. It just comes out so infrequently.
It's like every 2 months right now.
Yeah.
I think there's one issue left actually. That's kind of like the best thing I think they're doing right now.
Yep.
Did Hickman plagiarize it from another author the way that Rob's accusing him of plagiarizing?
That stuff came out years ago during.
I know, but like Rob's lit a torch under it.
Rob is a jilted lover at this point. He's just he's going full. What's the one where she boils the rabbit?
Oh, Fatal Attraction?
He's going full Fatal Attraction on Marvel these days, which I find funny. Not that they don't deserve it, but
He's just letting all everything he kept. He decided to self-censor before. He's no longer doing. Rob's reached give a fuck level 0 when it comes to Marvel, and it's all of the things that we all had serious suspicion on or knew, but they would just, creatives that were working with them would be like, oh no, it's not like that. And then the minute that they're refusing to work for them like ever again, they're like, oh yeah, it's exactly like that.
Yeah, it's.
I don't think Hickman plagiarized anything, unless you want to call that other writer plagiarizing Tuck Everlasting or whatever story where people don't die. That's
I mean, there's only so many ideas out there, and everything is basically like taking an idea and just hammering it into something new at this point. And if somebody does have like a truly original idea, you probably never see it.
Yeah, we don't get all that original kind of stuff. Man, Josh, there's something else I was going to say to you. It was like really profound, and it was going to be this amazing conversation stimulator.
Was it the word Doc was saying pre-game that you're not allowed to say?
No,
Stay away from that.
Yeah, we're gonna.
Oh, definitely stimulate conversation.
Yeah, true.
Yeah, that wouldn't be. That's not what we're aiming for here. More geeks for your comic book type stuff. But we've also got the Dylan arriving on the channel here to explain to all of us old geezers the Gen Z perspective on all these kind of stories. How you doing, Dylan?
Doing good.
Very nice. You got any big videos out or streams or anything? Josh got streamed out almost every day.
I got a video going out today talking about the Free Comic Book Day preview we got for Dan Slott's Superman for Superman Unlimited. So that'll be going up.
Well, don't spoil it all. Obviously, we should watch the video, but did you enjoy Free Comic Book Day this week? Or this past Saturday?
I ended up making it to a shop and I got like 3 Free Comic Book Day comics because nothing really looked very good. I got the Superman one.
Man,
I got Conan.
John.
I didn't even see Energon. I got Conan, and then I got Star Wars. Those were the 3 I got. I didn't even see Energon.
You can buy Energon next week. It'll be on the for $3.99.
Oh,
they'll be releasing it. Yeah, like they did last year. Yeah.
So were you generally positive? You're keeping an optimistic outlook on Dan Slott's Superman Unlimited?
No, because he pulled another stunt like he did with the random climate change thing in in his first outing on Superman with the Summer Superman, where it just randomly started talking about climate change. And this lady in the DC universe, mind you, says the biggest danger is misinformation. It's like Darkseid just invaded, not Darkseid, Doomsday just came back to Metropolis like a week ago. Legitimately had a space Armada follow him there, and also a time-traveling smart Doomsday was there as well. I think all 3 of those things are much more dangerous than misinformation.
Well, it's because on Twitter they were
saying
he was great. So, it was great that he was coming with his space Armada.
Yeah, again, it's like
the misinformation was really the big
You hateful fans are ruining comics.
Someone lies on Twitter and it's much more dangerous than anything else. It's crazy.
Amanda Waller was trafficking misinformation, and she was easily defeated.
Yeah, well, that was another dumb thing from Mark Waid, where it's just that deep fakes defeated the Justice League. Deep fakes is what everyone believed. That made no sense.
We're surprised that Mark Waid, of all people, is fucking retarded.
Wicked retarded.
Yeah.
Really?
So, Josh, did you make it for Free Comic Book Day last week? What did you get?
I did not. I worked and then I left work and went and saw Thunderbolts. So
you're of the Aaron persuasion where you don't want to touch the unwashed masses that arrive on Free Comic Book Day.
Sure.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like
bougie.
I'm gonna avoid amateur hour at the comic shop and
go
when it's empty and no one's there, so I can lurk.
You have a shot to myself.
This is when you have all the best sales, though. You probably could have got a discount on a long Halloween.
Yeah.
Honestly, my LCS owner takes really good care of me, so I'll just put that out there.
My comic book shop had
What does that mean?
25%.
It means I've gotten good deals from him. Like,
Oh, you get a
pretty
discount.
consistently. Not necessarily a discount, but he goes out of his way to make sure I get things that he knows that I'll want or whatever might be going on. I've gotten free stuff from him. So he's a cool guy. Shout out to Ground Zero Comics in Tyler, Texas.
Beautiful. So, Dylan, how was the Conan book? Because obviously that's one I would be very, very excited about, and it's supposed to lead in or at least hint at like this big Conan crossover coming this year.
I liked it, and yeah, they have like a big thing at the end that shows you like all the characters that are going to be a part of the crossover and like what it's going to deal with. I thought it was good.
So what are the characters? Solomon Kane, Belit?
There was a ton. I can't remember. But at the back, it has like all of them listed. But yeah, as someone who doesn't regularly read Conan, I liked it. It's good. It's worth the no money I spent on it.
You haven't been reading the Jim Zub Conan?
No, I've read a couple issues, but no, I'm not regularly reading it.
Well, I would certainly recommend it. It's a good series. As far as all the stuff out there, it's definitely one of the better ones.
Dylan, do you not like testosterone?
Maybe in a different way, but than you, John. Yeah.
Do you not like comic books that'll put, hair on your balls? That's what Conan will do, Dylan.
I like Conan fine enough. I just haven't.
You see, Conan's got a shaved yak and some glue. And
what
he's going to
do. Speaking of testosterone and manly stuff, you're the big UFC fan. We got an actual numbered UFC this weekend?
Yeah, it sucks. Like the main event should be interesting. I hope JDM beats the tar out of him, but because Bilal has been a horrible. Bilal's a champ right now. He's very annoying. He doesn't fight ever. And when he does fight, he just stalls. He's got like one finish in the entire time he's been in the UFC. And he talks about how he wants to be like Bejeda, who fought constantly. But he's fought like once in 800 days, I think. So, yeah, I hope JDM beats the tar out of him. That would be fun. Also, he's one of those guys. He's from Chicago, but he has the Palestinian flag representing him. But then he gets mad when people don't recognize he's American. It's like, well, dumbass, use the American flag then.
Branding. It's all about branding.
Yeah. That's really stupid.
But you're not in the rest of the card?
The rest of the card's not very good. We got Jose Aldo's coming back to fight at featherweight. Ancient Jose's coming back, so he's fighting. Yeah, that'll either be fun or incredibly boring. That's kind of how all those fights go. And that's Shevchenko's fighting. I never cared for Shevchenko. That any women's division above 115 sucks. 115 is the only decent division, so it's not worth. It's worth tuning in for the main event, especially if Bilal gets his ass beat.
It's not worth $100.
No, it is not worth buying. This is not a good pay-per-view. I think it's in Quebec too. I'm pretty sure it's in Canada.
It is. Yeah, it's definitely in Canada. Well, there you go. Aaron Sparrow, you're also here. How you doing, Aaron?
I'm here as well. Yes, I'm doing all right. Considering.
So, a couple of weeks ago, you started bitching about your foot, and you're like, "I got a sprained ankle." And I told you the only way to work yourself through a sprained ankle is to walk on it. And in fact, I said you should probably run on the son of a bitch and stop being a baby. That I was kind of tired of you whining and complaining about your sprained ankle.
Yeah, that was great advice, Wes. Walk on that son of a bitch.
Rub some dirt on it, like Coach said, and walk it off.
Man up is basically what I told him. It turns out you don't have a sprained ankle. I was actually telling you to walk on a broken foot.
Yeah, no, I did have a sprained ankle, but it's not been healing right. And I'm like, what the hell? It's like I've been walking and I've been working, but I've been taking care of it and not being too rough on it. And it just hasn't gotten any better. So yesterday I went and I got a second opinion, and it turns out I was misdiagnosed. They took a bunch of additional X-rays, and the doctor's like, "Yeah, your foot's broken in two places. You've been walking on a broken foot." And I was like, "Oh."
Does this mean the bill's on them?
But he goes. The doctor says you should be in excruciating pain, and I said, "Well, I mean, it hurts." And he goes, "No, but you should be like in like the way this break looks, and you should like really be in a lot of pain." And I said, "Well, I read mainstream comics, so you'd have to. I'm already always in a lot of pain, so it would have to be substantially different for me to notice."
Man, you should have told him. Well, Wes was in a lot of pain. Listen to me bitch about this thing for 2 days.
You're gonna be in a lot of pain when I break it again, kicking you in the ass for giving me bad advice.
That's how he initially broke it. He heard I was buying those variant interiors, and he found up and he kicked me in the buttocks.
Perhaps encouraging Aaron to be a better man wasn't the way to go about this.
I mean,
so you got a walking boot?
I got a walking boot, and I've got some crutches that are supposed to be coming from Amazon, and I'm gonna be hobbling around Dallas. So maybe I'll get one of those wheelchairs so you can push me around.
The way to do it, if you could get like a pimp cane, that would be.
Oh, like I want to get one that has like
that
an actual snake, like a snake head. Like that'd be cool.
An Irish shillelagh, made of all wood that you can club someone with.
No, I want the Blind Fury cane that where you can pull a sword out of it.
Oh yeah.
Rutger Hauer, very underrated 80s action flick. Is that 80s?
Yeah, it's a ninja movie. It's a canon ninja movie.
Yeah,
really is.
That was really
Shokasugi's in it too.
Yeah,
yeah.
It would never fly today because Rutger Hauer's blind, and of course he wouldn't be allowed to play a blind man. You'd have to get an actual blind actor. But at one point he does reach. When they lock swords, he reaches across and he feels his opponent's face, and he goes, "Oh, Japanese, huh?" I wouldn't be allowed today.
No. There's another good Rutger Hauer movie back in the day called like The Blood of Heroes. Do you remember that one?
I remember the name. Yeah, I don't remember exactly.
It was like a fake future sport where you like throw a dog skull on like this spike to win, and like this ragtag group win this tournament, and they get to go to like the big city in like a post-apocalyptic world. It was pretty good.
Damn. Is that on Docbuster Video? I'm going to have to go look for it.
I don't think Doc's probably even heard of that movie.
What is it?
The Blood of Heroes?
I don't think so, but I can.
Definitely not on Docbuster. I would have watched it by now. I haven't seen that movie in probably 20 years.
Is that the Dutch movie he did with Paul Verhoeven, like in the late 70s, early 80s?
Oh, if you're talking Paul Verhoeven and Rutger Hauer, that sounds like a magical team up.
That was like one of his first movies. That's what like got Ridley Scott caught his eye for Blade Runner. Movie.
I don't see Paul Verhoeven on here. No. So
nice.
I don't believe so, Sully. Yeah, you just derailed the fucking conversation, dickhead.
Movie trivia. Come on, movie aficionados. Anyone?
That wasn't movie trivia. That was you asking a blind question and not having any idea what the result could be. I've got to go to fucking IMDb, verify the information, and derail this entirely magnificent fucking stream that we've got going here. God. But Aaron, you're going to be better, right? You got some painkillers?
It's going to take 6 to 8 weeks. No painkillers, just regular Tylenol. It's going to take 6. I mean, I've already just been like walking on it like nothing. So, it just hasn't healed. So, just Tylenol, and I'll be on a boot and some crutches for Dallas. But it's going to take about 6 to 8 weeks of me wearing the boot, apparently, for them to clear, think about clearing me.
Aaron,
if you have a wheelchair, I will wheel you around.
Yeah,
when I have time.
We're gonna try to get you one of those hover rounds, so you can just be a menace at Dallas Fan Expo and like run into tables and then
just yell at people because I own the entire row.
Yell about ADA. Yeah, we're gonna do the whole thing.
Can I also at the same time push like a 3-child stroller next to me so I just ruin everybody's time at the con?
Yes, absolutely.
Listen, I don't want to be mean, but if you've got 2 or more very small children that cannot be trusted to walk on their own at any point, maybe you shouldn't be out.
Fuck you, man. I'm bringing all my kids.
Your kids are ambulatory.
He nailed it. Your kids are old enough to actually walk around on their own.
Oh, you think they can do that safely?
You put them on some leases, you're fine.
Yeah, put them on a leash. That's better than a. It's better than
tried
a
the leash. It did not work.
And remember, like Caesar Milan, you got to hold it high so they can't really go anywhere. It just keeps them right there because they are not in control, Wes. They are just you are going for a walk, and they are just lucky enough to be coming along with you. Also, give them a job. Put them in little vests. Put bottled water in there. They will feel pride.
Also, you can you can make some money off of them.
That's right. Sell the bottled water.
Yeah.
But
we'll
see how it goes. I got my passes for myself and the family to go to Dallas Fan Expo, or Fan Expo Dallas, I guess is what it's really called. Getting pretty close. Should be exciting. And I will wheel airing around at the con because I broke his foot even worse, unfortunately. The next time
when they put the X-ray up, when they first put the X-ray up, I was like, "Oh my god, there's the problem. There's a spooky skeleton inside me," and the doctor was mildly amused.
Sully, you went to Free Comic Book Day. Did you find any other books that were absolutely exciting that people should definitely check out if they didn't get to?
My LCS had a maximum of 2 books to take because it was a pretty big place. It was pretty busy. A lot of kids, families, and a big 25% off of everything sale. I picked up Energon Universe and The Amazing Spider-Man.
Of all the choices you picked out for that.
Yes, yeah, they did. I was looking for Speed Racer #0. They didn't have that. Let's see. I almost got the Star Wars one. I had that in my hand. Then I saw the sign. You can only take 2. I'm like, and let's see. Yeah, that was. And I wouldn't have touched. Yeah, I didn't touch the All-In one, and because of all that Dan Slott stuff. Just it would give me hives if I touched that.
The other part of the All-In was actually good. I liked the Mirror Master part. I thought that was cool.
Did you like the Star Wars thing? Because I read Star Wars #1 this week, and I was not.
Oh God, it was the most terrible book ever. Oh
No.
God, I'm rooting for Star Wars, and they brought their A game. They got Alex Segura, and they got Phil Noto, who I think is a great artist and does good. He does great covers. He just doesn't draw great action scenes. And you open the page, and Star Wars #1 new this week, and the flattest, ugliest looking X-wing fighters on a splash page, and it's just like, oh my gosh, it looks like stained glass. You know what I mean? The color, it's just bad, clunky art, and he does great faces. That's his strength. But then there's these horrible space fight scenes against pirates who have commandeered Imperial. Star Destroyer and stuff. It's just, it wasn't good at all. What a way to start.
Close-ups on faces look good, but anything else, not so great. Even like the proportions from like head to body is kind of weird. It's not the best. I was happy Valance is back though. I didn't expect him to be in it. He's one of my favorites, Legends characters. So it's cool to see him in this book. He hasn't shown up anything, I think, since Bounty Hunters got canceled. So that was cool. But yeah, Star Wars #1 was not.
Yeah,
not worth the money.
But if you missed out on Energon Universe on Free Comic Book Day, Skybound is selling it as the Energon Universe 2025 special next week. And I really suggest that you get it if you're tuned in to the Energon Universe. It's got 3 stories in there. The G.I. Joe story takes place immediately after G.I. Joe #6, Energon Universe, picking up with Clutch and what he's doing and who he ends up hanging out with. Yeah, and then there's a Daniel Warren Johnson story about Jazz, my favorite Autobot. Great art, great story. It's just, and then there's a Void Rivals story. But in the first one with Clutch, there's a special guest star. I'm not going to spoil it, but it just ties in. It adds to the Energon universe by going to the Hasbro toy box. And I hope that Generation X, kids like us, I hope you caught that. It was really fun.
Is it Matt Tracker?
Dude, don't spoil anything.
Is it Hondo McLean? Is it Buttons McBoom Boom? Is
Yeah, but that's
Sparrow, isn't that a weird fucking position there that Jazz is the best Autobot?
I mean, it's Scatman Crothers is the voice.
Scatman Crothers did the voice.
I gotta give some
I didn't
points.
say it wasn't, but I don't know, man.
He's a cool.
I mean, it's his favorite Autobot. I mean, that could just be that's the first one he bought, when he was a kid. So he loves Jazz.
Stop making excuses for poor decisions like that.
Look, I champion Windcharger all the time as being completely underrated, and it's all because Windcharger is the first Transformer.
If you wanted to say Jazz was underrated, I'm all for that. But to say that Jazz is like #1 when you can choose between like Optimus
he was
Prime,
the real leader after Optimus.
Super.
He was like he was like Silvio Dante to Optimus Prime's Tony Soprano.
I thought Prowl was the leader after Optimus.
I think it was Jazz. To be honest,
it was
Jazz,
Rodimus Prime.
Dylan, explain to Sully who the secondary leader of the Autobots was.
Who's the lieutenant, the consigliere, who's the right hand man. Who was Optimus's Starscream, or was it Soundwave who was the real second and leader of the Decepticons? Ooh, these are great
I
conversations.
think Soundwave is the
according-
best Decepticon because he had the
Mhm.
he turned into a radio that had
Yeah,
fucking tapes that turned into animals.
Did you say Soundwave or Shockwave?
Soundwave.
Soundwave.
Yes, Aaron Sparrow.
No, Soundwave was
did.
cool, but according to his file card, he would like listen to all the other Decepticons and then snitch on them to Megatron. He was
yeah.
Well, he's loyal to Megatron, which you even see in the animated movie because he's the one that picks up Megatron and carries him back to the ship.
Yeah.
And then they got the little, the great little bit. He's carrying Megatron, and then little Rumble's carrying Megatron's gun behind him.
So you're there you go.
Yeah,
Well, I'm glad you had a good day at Free Comic Book Day. I'm
Yeah.
sorry that you couldn't get 3 books.
Oh, well, I got something great though. There was 25% off of everything at my LCS for Free Comic Book Day. So I got something I've wanted for a long time: the hard-covered humanoids, Jodorowsky and Mobius, Jean Girard, the Inkle, which is this infamous European sci-fi comic book. It's amazing. It's Mobius on art. Just this is where we get Ram V from. This is where we get Grant Morrison from. It's just like that kind of stuff. It's amazing. So thank you. Welcome to my bookshelf, the Inkle. Yes.
Well, congratulations on the find, dude.
Thank you.
Very nice. And then Doc, you were in Florida last week, so you just skipped out on all this completely because you were like being domesticated Doc going to like cheerleading conventions.
Yeah, I had to go to a cheerleading competition.
Did you get all the other competitors like orange slices?
No,
Oh.
there were.
Well, what did you do? Hand out Gatorade?
I literally just kind of sat there.
You were just the driver?
basically. I was, yeah. I was the driver and pack mule.
Did you
Doc
get to find a
sat,
good
Doc sat
comic
there
book
until
shop?
Wait, what?
Aaron.
I said Doc sat there until security came up and was like, "Hey, buddy, move along." Doc was like, "I'm here with you."
No. Surprisingly, you know what? I learned something very disturbing at this, and it's from literally like little kids all the way up to like college. Cheer dads are fucking weird.
Mm-hmm.
Like they're there in like fucking tutus and shit. And every single one of them has like a goddamn cheer, like needs to make a point about having a cheer dad t-shirt.
Yep.
I
jeez.
was sitting there going, look, I get wanting to like support your kids' endeavors. You don't need to dress like them. Although
the kids better is giving them a solid example of masculinity.
Yes, and the other part that is very disappointing is how many of the cheer mothers are just trying to vicariously relive their youth through their kids.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah,
It's sad.
Yeah.
it's like entertainment moms. Entertainment moms are the same thing. It's all the same animal.
Yeah. So, yeah, it was. My girlfriend and I both felt very, very out of place because the girlfriend's she's a long since done being a cheerleader, and she's like, I'm not gonna do that. That's weird. We both just kind of wore normal fucking clothes, and we felt like the freaks there.
Probably were. Did
If I
you
was the
find a comic book
MC
shop?
I did wear an X-Men t-shirt the one day.
Nice.
If
I
was
didn't
the
even
MC,
realize
I would
what
just
I was
play
putting
Glory
on.
Days over and over again.
Doc, I got your t-shirt. Xavier's Institute for Higher Learning or for Gifted
Higher
Students
cheerleading.
Cheerleading Squad.
That's right.
Dude, that would be great.
I'll start my own cheerleading team. I can't go where the next slide.
So I've seen Doc's Docbuster video collection, Aaron, and he does have the full Bring It On collection, not just like the original movie,
Yeah.
but all the like directed DVD sequels.
the girlfriend and her daughter really, really wanted to watch those together, and they realized that after the second one, they're fucking awful. I've never watched anything other than the first one.
Mhm.
Apparently, they said that they tried watching them. They couldn't get through more than 10 minutes of any of the third, fourth, or fifth. Is there a sixth? I
Jesus.
don't remember.
At this point, maybe,
I didn't even realize there's a third, fourth, and fifth.
Yeah, there's like 5 or 6 of them.
Doc,
Bring it
don't
on.
try to
It's
act all
a prequel.
butch now.
Yeah, Doc, when I have embarrassing movies on my movie list, I also say it's because of my girlfriend.
Yes.
So
Yeah, but mine's at least marginally believable.
fair.
There's a great
Plausible deniability. Josh has implausible deniability.
Doc, there's a great episode of Buffy the Vampire Slayer that deals with this exact same subject about the mother trying to relive through the daughter's cheerleading thing.
Yeah, my girlfriend watches Buffy to fall asleep, and hey, I watch Ancient Aliens to fall asleep. So, that I swear to God, that show knocks me out in like 2 fucking minutes. But like half of the mornings that I wake up, it's like she starts the series on the same episode every night, because about half the nights I wake up, that fucking episode is playing. And I'm sitting there confused why there's a mom trying to pretend she's her daughter and be a cheerleader.
Yep.
Josh,
Season one-
or Doc,
Oh.
Jasper Play 9 wants you to know that Bring It On is on 4K now, if you're interested.
I'm good.
No, Doc's the one that's the big
Oh,
Bring It On fan. He's got the entire
I'm all
collection.
set. the box set.
Maybe.
The
Maybe
steelbook.
not. Yeah, he
Oh,
needs
God.
the complete collection in 4K, not just the original.
Oh yeah.
The steelbook's coming shaped like a pom pom. Oh yeah.
All right,
Or
Doc.
what
So
are their
you were
megaphone?
in Florida, and whenever you go traveling, you normally find a comic book shop. Did
you
they
know
allow
what?
you to go find a comic book shop?
Actually, this time I did not have the opportunity, and I really didn't want to. However, I did hit like 6 ollies on my way home, and I found some really cool shit. So, yeah, I was more interested in hitting ollies than I was going and finding a comic shop this time. There's not
'Cause
anything
You're more
that
of
I
a
was,
toy guy now.
well, not really. I mean, there's more toys that I want that I don't have than there are comics that I want that I don't have at the moment. Well, comics that are of a reasonable price that I want but don't have. Of course, I love myself in Tech 27 or in Action 1 or to get my AF-15 back, but those aren't exactly in the cards at the moment. So, toys, especially with how much Ollie's is basically the Hasbro fucking outlet store at this point, I can find stuff that I think is cool and that I don't have.
Very nice. I have to send something out. Oh, never mind. I can't. Never mind. We're getting back to business. We do have a few super chats. Let's hear from the peoples. Calb says not much to tell other than no one cares about May 4th Star Wars. Let us Last of Us was disgusting and Fantastic Four surprisingly getting reshots.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, reshoots 2 months before the release.
That seems weird.
So
That seems standard for Marvel.
Yeah.
I'm I'm about 90% positive these reshoots are actually just post-credit shoots. So
That one makes sense.
Yeah.
Because for the first Avengers movie, they did post credits reshoot, like the fucking shawarma scene. They did that like I think after the premiere.
yeah, they had their premiere and then they got together and filmed it after. It was like they had a week, I think, before the movie came out to add the shawarma thing.
And they shoved it in. That's why you can't see Cap's face because fucking Chris Evans has a beard.
Yeah.
He had grown his beard back and he couldn't. That's why you don't see his face. He's just covering his face the whole fucking time.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
So I can't be the only one that's tired of May the 4th be with you. It's a fun holiday.
It's gay.
It's not
I-
fun.
Yeah.
I've flipped the narrative. I celebrate all month long because Empire Strikes Back released on May 21st. Star Wars, not a bloody New Hope, released on May 25th. Return of the Jedi on May 25th. The prequels all released in May. George Lucas's birthday is in May. We can celebrate all month long. We can take the power back from the Disney brats.
I have an even better idea. We just forget Star Wars exists at this point.
Yeah, you got me there.
Well, I mean, I like Star Wars, but I don't know that I need to celebrate for an entire month. I don't know that there's enough good Star Wars if you're talking about movies or whatever, Dylan, to even get through a month.
No, yeah, a month's a lot if you're celebrating a month. I don't mind May 4th.
Have some
It's fine.
pride. Come on.
I think there's
Whole
Do
anything
you
month.
wrong.
celebrate May the 4th be with you? Did you get this commemorative blanket, Dylan?
No, I didn't get a commemorative blanket. I didn't get anything. I was hoping they would. I know they just did the Revenge of the Sith anniversary, but I always check to see if any theaters are going to be playing for May 4th any Star Wars movies, because sometimes some of the smaller theaters will do it, but no.
Like an
there's
Alamo
nothing.
Draft House.
No, they took
Yeah,
they
exactly.
took Revenge of the Sith out of the theaters to clear the way
Yeah.
for Thunderbolts because they thought it would hurt the Thunderbolts box office.
Yeah.
Probably would have.
I mean, the money goes to the same place, so I don't know what the I don't know. It's just perception.
Also, Andor season 2 is really good. So all the Star Wars sucks a lot right now, but Andor season 2 is great. So all
I haven't
whole
watched it
everything's
yet
bad
because
about
of
it.
all these knuckleheads.
It's great.
Okay. I'm out.
So Benjamin Bratt has been recast as Bail Organa, and he swears. He swear now?
Yeah, he
They
says
swear
shit.
now.
Yeah, he says shit. They swear now.
Oh,
Yeah,
they
he was
swear now?
recast. They tried to get Jimmy Schmidt back, but scheduling conflicts, so that's why they recast him. They didn't recast him
That
because they wanted
works.
to get rid of Jimmy Schmidt because Jimmy Schmidt couldn't make it.
Ben Bratt's a good actor, man. like
I
him.
mean,
So-
if I were Jimmy Schmidt and I were signed on to a Star Wars project, I would probably have scheduling conflicts too.
He
Even-
did
I love that you guys are all
Obi-Wan
saying
Kenobi.
It's Jimmy Smits, for God's sake.
Whatever, close enough.
Jimmy
He
Schmidt.
did Obi-Wan Kenobi, and that's not even close to as good as
We're just gonna call
Andor.
him Jim Smith from now on.
Yeah.
I love the whole feminist thing online about Mon Mothma, strong, stunning, and brave, and I'm like, I mean,
Who?
I would Mon Mothma, and
I'll tell you something about Mon Mothma
Who?
on Andor. She's a racist. There wasn't a single Bothan at her wedding, at her daughter's wedding. They didn't invite
And
a
then
single
Bothan
Bothan,
dies.
and yet she goes on about him in Return of the Jedi. Ooh, the Bothans, many Bothans died. You don't care about Bothans. You're just virtue signaling.
I
yeah,
hadn't got her the information yet. So she didn't care. What have you done for me lately?
but in
Oh,
Disney-
yeah.
in Disney's own beloved lore that they love to be like, it's our new story, it's our story, and it's like Mon Mothma sets it up that the New Republic,
All
take
right.
with their fleet. I mean, they leave the entire galaxy prone to the rise of the First Order, and it's Mon Mothma's fault. Nobody has this.
What does that
Well,
got to
this
do with
is-
Andor?
This is the problem with Andor, is that Andor doesn't matter. It doesn't matter how good it is. If all roads lead to the sequels, then none of this matters.
Nothing matters.
So we can't even enjoy Star Wars or The Empire Strikes Back or Return of the Jedi.
Yeah, see,
Because-
don't
If you
listen to
can't-
them.
Yes, you can.
That's
If you
dumb. That's a
only- if
dumb
you-
way of thinking. Andor's great.
Yeah.
If you
That's
only
reductive
accept
thinking.
those, if you only
The
accept
Lucas
those
canon.
as canon, then yes. But as long as everything points
But
to the
Andor
prequels,
leads directly into
the
that. It
sequels.
doesn't lead into the sequels. It leads into A
Yes,
New
it
Hope.
does.
Also,
That's-
it's gonna make that Rogue One rewatch even better. It's
Exactly.
See, that's why there's only 3 Indiana Jones movies.
Exactly.
yeah. True.
I'm all for that, but
There's
I,
only
I like Andor. I'm waiting for to binge watch it. Maybe I'll do it when I'm on vacation.
there's,
But you
there's,
say
Really
there's
good.
7 Star Wars movies.
all the people bitching about Andor are wrong, is what you're saying, Dylan.
Yeah, it's great. It's really good.
You're
Mhm.
good with
I like-
rape in
I-
Star Wars.
What the fuck do you think Jabba was doing with all those women on his in Tatooine? Oh, he
Well,
just
there's-
dressed her up. He
Okay,
just
first
dressed
of
her
all-
up in a metal bikini just for the vibes. What do you think
Yeah,
was
it's a
going
power
on?
thing. It's a power thing. It's not a sex
They had
thing.
dancing around.
Jabba's-
What, you think there wasn't any rape happening there?
No,
Yeah.
Jabba's a hermaphrodite. It's
A
Yo.
bunch of 2-year-olds
That's how
watching
he was
Star
able-
Wars. Like, yeah, there's
that's how-
nothing bad going on here. There's no rape. Jabba's a good
How do you-
guy.
How do you
Hey,
think Jabba's
pimping
able
ain't
to
easy.
spontaneously generate a son? It's because he's like a worm. He produces asexually.
Oh my goodness.
And I'm not even just talking about Jabba. Look at everyone else in Jabba's palace. Like, there's rape's
yeah.
been going on in Star Wars.
You think
It's a
It's
thing.
just like a
What do you
rapey
think
palace.
happened? What do you think happened to Shmi Skywalker? Not only with the Tuskens, but
Hold
when
up.
she was,
The
when
Tuskens
she
are
was
very
owned,
nice native
when
people.
she was
There's nothing
owned.
wrong.
Yeah,
They
no,
never did
Tuskens
anything
are
bad.
good.
The hut.
They have
Tuskens are
culture.
good
I don't know who the
indigenous
father
people.
is. Of course you
You know,
didn't. There was
they
a
were-
room full of them.
But yeah,
That's
she
what
got.
they
Yeah,
did
that's
in
another thing.
Star
She
Wars.
clearly got raped by the Tuskens in Attack of the Clones.
Yeah, but they didn't
That obviously
do it. They
happened.
didn't even see the attack. They just show you the aftermath. It's
And
a
she didn't
lie.
say it.
Are
She
you
didn't
saying
say,
like
Anakin,
don't
I'm
have-
so glad you're here. They've raped me repeatedly. Like,
Yeah.
that didn't
Yes.
happen.
What do you think was on Luke's
Can you
mind?
not-
when he-
Wait,
do you
so
think
we
was on
can't read the
Luke's mind?
subtext? No one has a brain anymore while watching Star Wars?
Keep it in subtext, is what I'm saying.
Dude, what do you think was on Luke's mind
What
when
do
he
you-
went into Ben Solo's tent in the middle of the night and whips out his
This
lightsaber?
is the whole, we talk about how things don't progress ever and everything stays
What do you
stagnant.
think was
Andor
what do you
does
think was-
something and it's like, oh, I can't handle it.
What?
I'm pearl clutching now.
Were the
It's
Jedi
crazy.
were the Jedi molesting the younglings like the Catholic Church? Of course they were, but it's
Oh my
subtext.
God.
What are
We
you
just leave
doing,
it there.
man?
What? You didn't have to go there.
I'm just following this
The new
argument to
Pope
its
and everything.
illogical
You just get to
conclusion.
It's clear that Dylan's had enough of this argument about sexual assault in Star Wars.
Well, yeah, because it's a bunch of babies.
This was fun.
Right.
That's all it
Right.
is. It's a
I
bunch
mean-
of babies. Be like, rape has been something that it's
in the
also an
subtext.
expanded universe or legends.
Yeah.
I mean, like there's definitely instances like it's something that exists in Star Wars.
Well, I mean,
And they-
Shizor was basically a sexual predator with his pheromones and his luring women in. They can't resist him because of his.
And it's
sex
not like they
glands.
did some huge graphic thing in the show either.
See, here's the thing. I don't think Jabba did anything. I think he was just pimping him.
Hashtag Java did nothing wrong.
Blameless Jabba.
Hey, he's
Jabba
pimping
the
ain't
Hutt.
easy, yo.
Pimping ain't easy. He's
No,
got a
Dylan's
hat
Dylan's
on.
right.
How do you?
Like, look,
how does he
Dylan
make
is
money?
right. Dylan is objectively right, but it's still fun to argue it.
Yeah, but I mean it's he's a straight up gangster. He doesn't use his own product. He doesn't use his own product. He sells it. That's how he gets his income.
Dylan's next episode is with, you think necrophilia never happened in Star Wars? It was always there. They just had the balls to show it, man. Okay, I like it. It's implied heavily within the Sand People that they are necrophiliacs, dude.
Not anymore. The
According to
Sand People are all
Solo-
righteous.
That's right, because they're Native Americans now, and they
Yes.
never hurt each
Yeah.
other. They never went to war with each other. They never killed each other for land. They were just noble there in the desert until the Tatooine, until the white man came and colonized Tatooine.
Yep, exactly.
We need the kid from Captain Planet to come give a speech about it.
Yes.
Cal then says, Wade, the Nazis are coming. Oh, wait, that's you. Man, Mark Waid.
Oh boy.
Definitely the worst guy to be like the mouthpiece for whatever nonsense he spewed out this week.
Waiting.
Hey, don't harass people online. Do it in back rooms like he does.
Yeah.
Do it with whisper networks and blacklist people that way, and put
The only
put
person I could
fear
feel
in
like
the
would be
publisher.
worse would be Slot, maybe, because he's definitely encouraged like a toxicity against people in the past.
I feel like the what was it, 1999 Bill Gates and a pie to the face is the appropriate response to most comic book pros.
Mm.
Wait until they come around a corner, just hit him in the face with a pie every day, all day.
Okay.
But you got to be careful because you might get hit in the face with a pie by Jordan White as he rides his unicycle and honks his clown nose.
While playing as
Dion wants to know our thoughts about the Cheshire and Cheetah team up miniseries by Greg Rucka that will come out in September. Sounds like shit and too random.
I
Maybe lesbians.
Hold on. I read that really wrong, and I thought it said Chester Cheetah.
Easy, being cheesy.
I'm sorry. I was really confused for a second.
Just a cheetah by
The
Greg
Chester
Rucka.
Cheetah miniseries by Greg Rucka.
That's what I always wanted. Some hyper violent realism in my Chester Cheetah.
I mean, you laugh, but I would buy that.
Sorry.
So I had someone reach out like, they're about to announce Greg Rucka returning to DC Comics. I was like, okay,
About time.
maybe he'll take over Wonder Woman or something. And then they got that. I was like, I can't imagine anything less inspired or more random than that fucking idea. You know what I'm saying, Josh? I was like,
Yep.
where did this even come from?
I don't know. But also, like, how stupid are you at DC that you're getting Greg Rucka back and, like,
Not putting
this
on
is
Wonder
what
Woman?
you're going forward with? I'd be like, no, absolutely not. You're taking a major character. Which
Well,
one?
they're playing to his strengths. They're giving him two characters that he can, write his lesbian fan fiction with.
That's true. Yeah. I don't know. I haven't been fond of a lot of his recent stuff because he's letting his politics take over in his books, but at least he is a competent writer, unlike a lot of people at the big two right now. So I don't know.
Yeah, his Lois Lane was not his finest hour.
No, at all.
So
I don't know. The only place
I
I've
don't
ever
know.
liked Cheshire is Young Justice. So
Do you got any thoughts on this one, Dylan? I know you're a big DC fan. Does any of that get you excited to put that on a pull list or even check it out?
It feels really random, and I don't care. I did like what Mark Wolfman did with Cheshire in the '90s in his Deathstroke series.
Mhm.
He was good there, but that was a long time ago.
Yeah. Who's the artist? Was it announced?
Why are you trying to derail the?
No,
No,
it's
I
a-
gotta look at the. Red
Don't
Rucker.
meet up at. Don't read anything.
we'll find out
Cheshire.
sooner or later. Oh,
You got Google, man. What are you doing?
oh, okay.
What is this? Oh yeah, it's Nicola Scott. I knew that, but I
Ooh.
forgot. Well, there you go. We got a squeal out of fucking Sully. Nerd says, Aaron, how do I get to talk with you directly?
you can hit me up on Twitter or Instagram. That's the easiest places to get me.
What are your ats? What are your handles?
At Aaron Sparrow or at Aaron_Sparrow.
And you're more of an Instagram guy these days, right? You're like an Instagram model.
Instagram and Twitter, you can find me on really easily. If you message me on Facebook, like I'll eventually get back to you, but it'll be like whenever I check it, which is like every 3 months.
So if he follows you and you don't follow him and he tries to message you, are you going to see it?
Well, he just like on Instagram, he can just send me a message. Like I don't have to follow him; he can just message me. But on Twitter, yeah, I would have to follow him back because I had open DMs for a long time, but that turned out to be a nightmare. So
It is a
eventually,
nightmare.
eventually you're just like, I don't need all these death threats. I don't need to be reading these.
Yeah. So there you go. 2 options. Federico de la Casa with the spoiled character in Energon Universe. I thought it seemed like IDW Universe done right. Do you think Rom will appear? I've heard some. So I don't know what you're talking about because I haven't seen the spoiler.
Oh,
Ooh.
I don't think they can use ROM right now.
Yeah, I think the ROM license is at Marvel.
Didn't he just come
I
back to
think
Marvel?
Yeah, it's. I don't think they can use ROM. I don't think they can. I don't know if they can use the Space Knights, but I'm pretty sure they can't. Because I'm pretty sure the Space Knights are Marvel property. ROM himself is it's a licensed property.
Yeah, even when they didn't have ROM, the Space Knights would appear in the handbook of the Marvel Universe. Just like I think Circuit Breaker from Transformers belongs to Marvel, just like Death's Head does.
I think you're
use her
right.
in the Transformers either. They should bring her in somehow. I always liked her character. Of course, now they'd ruin her, so it's better that they leave things untouched. Don't touch anything we ever liked.
So Sparrow, you would prefer to see cops fighting crime in another time in the Energon Universe?
I would like to see the cops come back. Cops and Crooks, man, that was a good show. It was a good comic. Pat
So
Broderick.
the cops would side with the Autobots and the crooks would side with the Decepticons?
I mean, only if you're doing like stuff in the future. I don't think that you can don't pull cops and crooks into the present day. What you should do is you should pull in Mask and have that be, an offshoot of G.I. Joe and Cobra.
Like there's special teams that incorporated Transformer technology.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you make Miles Mayhem a member of Cobra, and then he splits off, and that's why his organization's called Venom. But they've got the Transformers tech in their vehicles. They just don't know how. They just don't have the ability to infuse it with the spark of life.
Oh,
would that get you interested in Transformers, Dylan? Or are you still just closed off to this amazing world that you've never discovered?
I just don't care about Transformers.
So what we need to do is we need to put Dylan in a chair and then pry his eyes open like Clockwork Orange and just put on the 87 Transformers movie until he's just continually singing the soundtrack. And then let him go, and he'll be like, and then he'll be getting to fistfights in front of BotCon over whether Rumble is red and Frenzy is blue, or if it's the opposite.
I am of the opinion that we need to do that with most millennials and Gen Z, but with PCU.
Who is Cyclonus, Skywarp, or Bombshell? Come on.
So what is the problem with Dylan? It's obviously not that it's robots. You love Star Wars, and there's plenty of droids that have personalities and human-like characteristics within that universe, and you've accepted it. What is it that won't allow you to accept Transformers?
Just none of it is appealing to me. Everything I've seen from it, it's fine. I don't hate it, but I don't care about it, and it's never interested me enough to dip my toe any more in than I already have.
Mm-hmm.
Just
Have you ever
don't
heard
care.
Optimus say, Transformers, roll out? Like, with
Yeah.
He
his
doesn't say
awesome
Transformers
Optimus Prime?
roll out. He says Autobots transform and roll
Sorry,
out.
I'm sorry.
See, Wes is a fake fan, so he can't even lecture me about nothing.
I know, like we're gonna roll a geek cred check on you, Wes. You better come up 18s.
What the hell are you talking about? That was the
Don't
quote.
worry about it.
up
I'm
a
just
little
saying.
bit.
I'm just saying. Look, if Dylan doesn't want to watch Transformers, Optimus Prime.
There's something
would
wrong
support
with
his
him, is
decision.
what I'm saying.
But Optimus Prime would support his decision because freedom is the right of all sentient beings.
Listen, Dylan, when you're in Dallas, if we hand you a drink, just don't ask questions, okay?
He just wakes up in a room surrounded by Transformers comics. What have I done?
Bumblebee plushie is the pillow.
Why am I covered in blood?
Is this Energon?
Carlitos Figueroa says, "Hey Wes, did you check out Venom number 5? It explains why MJ is tied to Venom involving the 3 skulls. Not the greatest issue, but curious about your thoughts." So Doc and I read Venom number 6, or all new Venom number 6 this week, which is what I believe you're referring to. And in fact, Doc and I already reviewed it. It'll be out on the YouTubes on Monday, and then the review will be up uncensored and unfiltered onto the Patreon tomorrow.
Yep,
It's a well-illustrated comic book.
Check it out.
it is. It's a well-illustrated comic book, and that's all I'm going to say for the moment.
I think it sets up some interesting schisms with Paul, because first of all, Venom is carnivorous, and that's just not going to jive with Paul's vegetarian diet and his menu offerings. MJ is going to be eating steak before we know it.
So not only do they make fun of his tech ability, not only are they trying to make him a dad to a kid that he doesn't like, but they're also going to say that he's a bad cook and just really remove any bit of self.
Hey, if you are what you eat, and Paul's a vegetarian, at least he doesn't have to worry about Venom eating him.
And then with their we know that they have intimacy issues and go to couples therapy. It could be like anti-tentacle porn underneath that surface.
So is Robbie a couples therapist, or is he a journalist? Yeah. I was confused.
He's a little both.
I think they used him as a couples therapist here, probably because nobody will let them use Doc Samson. That's who should have been in this fucking comic.
He's the only psychiatrist in the Marvel universe.
He really is. They got one psychiatrist, and he's
that's able to talk to Paul, MJ, and the Venom at the same time. So you wouldn't want some just normal guy. You'd freak out.
What, no jabronis?
No, you need a Doc Savage or something. But it was an interesting issue. There are definitely things, Carlitos. This is as far as I'll go on it. There are things to enjoy about the comic book beyond just the art. But the art, I think, is the biggest selling point. Certainly, MJ in the yoga pants was a highlight of Marvel's 2025 offerings thus far. But there are some components of the story that are very enjoyable, even if the issue is not well constructed or executed, in my opinion. It is flawed but enjoyable. Would you buy that one, Sully? Is someone who read it?
Yeah, it was the most cogent issue in the series so far, the strongest issue in the series. And honestly, if it was issue number 2, this would have been a better title, a stronger title. There was so much fluff in issues 2 through 4 and 5 leading up to this reveal.
There's a lot of fluff in issue 6. Everything revealed could have been done in 4 panels.
Yeah, and the MJ reveal should have been done earlier in the series. And it was, and I like where this could be going, because remember, Peter was bonded with Venom in Venom War, and Venom even was thinking wow, you really have these feelings for MJ still. And now that Venom's connected to MJ, there's no way in hell she doesn't know that. Again, with Paul and their intimacy issues, their couples therapy, and his vegetarianism. These are going to be the things that drive them apart. That's going to happen.
You're really fucking nailing down on that vegetarian thing because you're a cook.
Yes.
Or chef. I'm sorry, you're a chef.
Dude,
yeah, the reason they're having intimacy issues is because Paul can't get it up.
I know.
Needs some protein.
I've had some vegetarian girlfriends. The number one corrupter of vegetarian girlfriends is bacon. Freshly made bacon first thing in the morning. Just give me a slice.
Is that an innuendo?
No, that's
it's sausage, dude.
Sully's up in the morning making bacon.
Making the bacon,
Sully,
baby. Yes.
I would like to get back to the comic books before we get into the first topic. You also read it's Jeff Week.
Yes.
I guess it's like Shark Week, but Jeff Week because he's also
Yeah.
a shark.
Yeah.
Do you
Oh,
want
and
to act like you like this book again? Like
I
it's your
will.
thing. It's your
I
gimmick.
will. Well, because I'll give the first half of the book higher praise. It's written by Kelly Thompson, and she's got her usual artist. What I like about this book is because it's very Sunday newspaper comic strip to me. They're short, they're pithy, they're very low on the dialogue, using very few emoticons and word balloons. It's supposed to be cute. It's supposed to be stupid and not taken seriously. And that ends up being fun because I don't have to take it seriously. And then the art.
That's why comic readers make fun of comic strip readers because they like lowbrow entertainment instead of real comic books.
I don't know. Brenda Starr was a pretty, mature kind of, for its day, kind of like on the ball. You get. And my little and Orphan Annie. Geez, come
There you
on,
go.
those are serious. But yeah, I mean,
Sully
it's
is still
half a good book.
convincing himself he likes this stupid book.
I appreciate it on different levels. Just Jeff's a cute character, and he gets into hijinks, and he gets out of hijinks, and it's just simple. It's simple storytelling.
Character sucks.
Aw.
There you go. Well, I guess we can get into what's going on within the sphere of comic books. There was an article kind of following up on a panel that was at a con on the Comics Beat, talking about how comic book fans have become so toxic that they're pushing comic book creators away, and we're all losing out in the end, which I do think is a conversation worth having. I don't think the fandom at large is toxic, but I do think there are certainly toxic people out there that do have lots of bad behavior that could be discussed. But I think they made an enormous mistake, Dylan, choosing Mark Waid to be a mouthpiece, and certainly going into the Roy Thomas story, to where Roy Thomas kind of brought all that stuff on himself by going out there and stealing creator credit. Mark Waid literally has a 30, 40-year track record of toxic behavior within the workplace, not only with fans, but certainly with his own peers and even supervisors and stuff like that. So I think they found the wrong people to go out there and point the finger at fans and say we're all toxic.
They definitely did. I don't know why they got Mark Waid. Mark Waid has a well-documented history of how horrible he is. Seemed like the worst choice for this. And then other people on the panel are people that are universally loved, that it made no sense why they are there. It's like, why, when are you getting hate? And the panel made no sense. And the whole deal is like, this is part of the deal of you write comic books for a living. You're dealing with fictional characters that a lot of people love and have a lot of time and investment in. You have people that bought every single issue of a certain series, and then someone comes in and fucks it up. Of course, you're going to hear from them, and they might not be too happy about what you're doing. This is just the way it goes, and it's the way it's always gone. It's just now with the internet, every single person has a voice, so you got to deal with everyone. And there are simple things you can do, like just not read the comments, and there you go. You're fine. You're in your own bliss. But a lot of people can't, and they have to tune in, and it's bad for them, and it's bad for everyone. And this is just how it is. I don't think it's that big of a deal. Obviously, there are toxic people, but for the most part, who cares? There's a lot of passion out there with these characters. That's what it is.
The bottom line is, Mark Waid, you don't have to be on the internet. You don't have to be there. You don't have to read any comment about your work at all. You could just turn in your work, and then you could have, a life blissfully unaware of what people think of it. But the fact is, your ego needs the boost, so you got to go online so that people can powder your butt and tell you it's special and different than everybody else's. But the problem is that you can't stop running your mouth, and then you get pushback. And when you get pushback, you call it harassment because you're the only one who's allowed to go out there and be an asshole. But you're just the meme of the person throwing the shit over the fence. And then when it starts flying back, you're like, help, I'm being attacked.
Wait, I was reading something. Are we talking about Eric July right now?
Oh,
No, but listen, Aaron's 100% spot on. Like, it's not like anything has actually changed except for the volume at which you can, I guess, engulf yourself into this quote unquote toxic fandom. But if you go back to like 70s, 80s, you've got the letters to the editor, and they're publishing things where people were complaining about what was going on with the character or how they're changing it. I mean, go back to different times when the big two were changing their direction, and changing continuity. You had people like pissed. And they were not afraid to say it in those letter sections.
Dude,
but,
sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt.
No, go ahead. Go ahead.
I was gonna say I was just reading a Jonah Hex issue from the 70s, and like in the letters page, there's a guy that's just like, yeah, the art on the last one was just shit, terrible. Like I said, shitting all over it. He's like, I like this latest issue, that was good. It's like, oh my god, just like straight up in the letters page, just being so negative about the art on it. It's like, damn.
And they weren't afraid to publish it.
Yeah,
They weren't afraid to put in the criticism, even when it was harsh, because comics used to involve a certain level of men working within them that weren't thin-skinned diaper babies. And Mark Waid is a thin-skinned diaper baby.
Yeah.
He wants to play the tough guy behind the keyboard, but then as soon as he gets pushed back, he does like he does in life. He cries and he runs to his office and he breaks all his little toys and he smashes the phone against the floor, metaphorically speaking in this case. But he rages out and then he disappears off of social media for a couple of weeks until he can't resist and he has to come back. If you don't have the hide for it, if you don't have the stones to be in there and take the slings and arrows, then get off the internet.
He has to play whack-a-chud. He can't help himself. You're right, Aaron.
No one's forcing you to write comics. You can go work a day job. You can go work a 9 to 5 like everyone else, like the people that are buying your comics. And guess what? You don't got to deal with any haters. You don't got to deal with any toxic fans. No one's going to do that. No one's going to go work a normal job.
Go get a government job. You don't have to be good at it. You don't have to do the work, and you can be as rude and as unpleasant as possible, and you probably won't get fired.
He would be perfect at the post office. Imagine Mark Waid.
Oh god, or the DMV.
Fitting perfectly.
The DMV.
The DMV. I mean, he should be writing Hallmark cards just for his side of the aisle. Happy Impeachment Day. Like shit like that. I think there's a correlation that a lot of us miss sometimes, and it's just the nature of fandom itself. Perhaps it's the oversensitivity that's due an artist, like whether it's you're the writer or the penciler or the colorist, that you have to connect to a sensitivity within yourself to produce art. Yet we as fans, I mean, I see something like a correlation here. There's a lot to be shared with sports culture. Now, in sports culture, if the team is not performing on the field or the ice, the coaches, the owners, and the players hear it from the fans, and the fans don't have to be nice half the time. And I mean, and they're professionals and they're getting paid top dollar. And there's very few exceptions to that rule. Like there was something that happened with my Red Sox last week where a fan said something about an attempted self-deletion of one of these players. And that was totally not called for. And there is a lot of that not called for stuff out there with the internet. There is, I get that, but have they forgotten the nature of fandom? That it is passionate. We are the people paying for the tickets. We are the people buying the apparel, getting the TV packages that have been following the team for years in our lifetimes and poring over statistics and caring about this. How doesn't that not apply to comic books? Here's the other thing. Mark
Waid can come out and he can rail against toxic fans, and he loves to do it. He's always the first one there to talk about how shit the customers are, right? I didn't hear Mark Waid say word one when some of his peers bullied Ed Piskor into suicide. Mark Waid is not one of the people that came out and condemned it. You know why? Because Mark would probably relish that type of power. Right. It seems that he would love to be able to have his enemies, off themselves, because he's just so hateful towards everyone that he doesn't like. Anybody who disagrees with him, he's so hateful towards. So you didn't see him come out. So the only people that I want to hear, their opinion on, how the fans behave is the actual people who came out and said this behavior is unacceptable when their peers bullied Ed to suicide. That's what I want to see. Greg Smallwood, you can come out and talk about it. Rob Liefeld, you can come out and talk about it. Mark Miller, you can come out and talk about it, because they are the only 3 mainstream pros, unless I'm wrong. Maybe there's a couple more, and you guys can name them in the chat if you know them, and I will gladly sing their praises for doing so. But only 3 mainstream pros came out and talked about that, and 2 of them, Rob and Mark, have FU money, so they're in no danger. The only guy who was in danger of not getting work by speaking out was Greg Smallwood. So I give him extra points.
It appears his Batman book might have got canceled or something. They took it off the solicitations, and we haven't seen it since.
Yeah.
Okay. I saw that in the solicitations. I was wondering about that.
His Batman Barbarian book?
Oh, no.
Haven't heard a thing about it since. It feels like maybe he did eventually get some reprisals out of that one, Aaron.
It could be. I mean, I don't know what the behind the scenes on that is, but it could be. And how disgusting if he did, because he is the only person who had the balls to stand up. It's funny. Every one of these pros loves to come out and rail on all the safe topics, and give you their opinion on all the safe topics. But the moment that one of their own is, driven to suicide by a bunch of bottom feeders and never has-beens, never will be's, however you want to classify them, mostly never will be's, they all fall silent. So don't go online and pretend that you're brave. Don't go online and say like you're standing up for anything, or you're a fighter, or you resist. You don't do anything. You go with the flow. You go with what's popular. And when something heinous actually happens within your industry, you all clam up. How many of you knew about Eddie Berganza? How many of you knew about all the things that were going on, and you didn't say anything because it would hurt your career to do so? You only talk when it's safe, and you only rail against the fans because you think that that's safe. Well, it's not safe, and it's going to become increasingly less safe as fans continue to walk away and your industry continues to crumble.
Yep. So anytime you're in a position where you're writing creatively for mass audiences, you said this earlier, you've got to have a thicker skin, because you're going to get feedback whether you want it or not. And you've got to take it with a grain of salt. There's going to be stuff that has some substance to it, and you need to look at it and go, you know what, there's kind of a point here. And then you're going to have morons and idiots like we see coming out with just stupid bullshit. But you've got to learn to separate the two. And if you can't, then you shouldn't be on social media. Or if you are on social media, have an account that you use for marketing your crap, and then have a private account for your actual friends. Like, learn to do that separation. And just for your marketing account, just post stuff and don't read comments. Like, it's not that hard. I've said this for years, that this is what people should do if they can't handle feedback. But at some point, you got to handle feedback, because sometimes these guys can't even take feedback from their editors. And if you go back to like 70s, 80s Marvel in the bullpen, these guys were either praising the hell out of what you were doing or completely ripping it to shreds within the bullpen. They're like, what are you doing? This isn't right. And you hear about these tiffs that these guys would have, but they were ultimately trying to make it better. And that's what fans want. They ultimately want a better product. And not everyone's going to agree, and that's fine. And I'll switch this to the fan side, though. What is toxic about fans? I will say there are certain audiences and certain groups that they come in deciding they want to hate something, and that's all they see and do.
Yeah.
And if you're doing that, you're also in the wrong. Like, two things can be right at the same time here. So, if you're a creator, like, get a thick skin, grow the fuck up, be a big boy, put your big boy pants on. And if you're a fan, like, be a fan. But if you're just going out to hate or troll or whatever, like, get a life, go do something.
Yeah, there is like this level of exhibitionism that I think is really taken hold, especially within social media, where people will go out there and say the most outrageous or insane things, or do the most outrageous acts just because it gets them attention. Obviously, you got big examples like Johnny Somali and stuff like that. And I definitely think there are individuals, or maybe even little tiny groups within the fandom, that do that. But that doesn't mean the fandom's toxic. Those are individual cases.
Yeah, no, agreed. I'm 100% with you on that. And acting like a fan having a negative opinion about something as being toxic, that's bullshit. And honestly, the publishers need to step up. And when they've got creators like shitting on fans, the publishers need to step in and go like, hey, you're killing our sales and your own sales. Shut the fuck up, dude. If I were running a company, I'd tell people to shut up real quick. I'd be like, listen, you can either stop your tirades on social media, or you can keep writing this book. One of the two. Pick one.
Exactly. I mean, I'd love to buy some Mark Waid books. He's been doing great on DC Comics, but I'm like, I just hit the wall with him. I don't want to be part of that, but I know I'm missing out on Batman and Robin Year One and World's Finest and everything else. He's going to be doing some kind of like event book too. And I'm like, I usually love Mark Waid's work. He's written my favorite Flash story ever. It's called Dead Heat. You know what I mean? And I'm just like, oh gosh, I wish I could like you. Why are you so unlikable? Can't you shut your mouth and just ply your trade?
He's written my favorite Doctor Doom story. He's written one of my favorite Captain America runs, the very first one they did with Ron Garney. I mean, it's at some point I always try to separate the art from the artist, but there comes a point where you're so loud and you're so obnoxious and you're so hateful that I can't get behind you anymore. And I've actually worked with Waid. I've said on multiple occasions, I've seen when he can be really magnanimous. I've seen him give in to the better part of his nature. Unfortunately, that is not the wolf he feeds on a daily basis. The wolf that he feeds is the mean, petty, bitter one that, was bullied as a kid probably. And, God knows what, that he's still carrying around with him. But at some point, like you're a man in his 60s, get some help, get a healthy mental attitude, and, start having a better life. Like I can't imagine, just from his posts and the things like that, just the constant, can you imagine being in constant anguish all the time and not doing anything about it?
Are we talking about Waid?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, he's a sad old man. He was a sad old man when he was 30 too. And he's going to remain a sad old man.
It's heartbreaking. It's heartbreaking. I hate to see anybody do that. I mean, like the guy's done plenty of stuff that I don't like. And obviously, I don't pull any punches when it comes to talking about his behavior, but it's sad for somebody to live like that. And, you want them to do better. You want them to heal. And it's like that meme. It says, may you find peace and may you heal and may you grow. But until then, please shut the F up.
Yeah, I'll be perfectly honest. There isn't enough life left in him to redeem him for how shitty of a human he is. So I just want him to go away. Like permanently, just vanish, fuck off to the woods. I don't care. You don't have to, nothing bad has to happen to you.
Mm-hmm.
I just don't want you to exist in the world anymore.
I don't think he's not a murderer. Come on.
He should be writing Hallmark
He's
cards
just an
the rest of his
asshole.
life. Yeah, he's a writer. Writes some Hallmark cards. It's a publishing industry.
I don't even want that. I just want him to go fuck off into irrelevancy in the woods somewhere.
Well, I mean, he's writing mainstream comics. It's not like there's a ton of relevancy.
Yeah, I mean, look, here's the thing. He cannot bring enough good into the world that I give a shit where he goes. I just want him gone. I do. I don't wish harm on the guy. I just don't want him to. I don't want to ever. If I could live the rest of my life and never hear Mark Waid's name or voice again, or read the bullshit he writes, I would be a happy man.
He's not a bad writer, but I think he goes over the top in the fact that people like look at him as some type of industry leader, and obviously they're putting him up as like the first example of somebody speaking out against the fans, and this is the person that we should listen to.
Right.
In the end, he probably ends up
worked out for the industry, though.
That's what I'm saying. He's going to end up taking it all down with him because that is not the way that you treat.
Well, he'd rather burn it to the ground. He'd rather burn it to the ground, Wes, than work with somebody who disagrees with him. Because anybody who disagrees with him is obviously a far-right lunatic in his eyes. So therefore, if you have a difference of opinion, you have a difference of policy, or you don't think that, he attacked Valerie DeRossio for daring to say that maybe we shouldn't be putting pornography in kids' hands. And he said she had a very dangerous mind because of that. Yeah. It's insane. It's unhinged. But if you disagree with him in any way, then obviously you're the evil one. And it's like, he can't even see how far gone he is. And everybody who, like so many people that have worked with him have run afoul of him at some point.
The fact that this industry even props up this canary in a coal mine as some voice of importance. I mean, look, the comic media does it too. How the fuck are you guys doing? Oh, I'm sorry, you're a dead industry too. You fucking idiots are just going to keep running. You're going to keep him up there as your goddamn mascot until all of you have fucked off to the bread line. And honestly, you deserve it. Comic industry, comic media, comic journalism, you fucking deserve it because you keep putting this ass clown out as some sort of, I don't know,
elder statesman.
Yes, elders and elders. I mean, it's like Tom fucking Brever, the guy that's just sat there and under his watch, the entire fucking company has collapsed around it. He's him and I don't even know, not even Dan Buckley. He is the only one that's been there for the entire collapse of that fucking company. And you still trot him out like just because he's been there long enough that makes him good? No, it means he's just watched over the demise of a once mighty company, the same way that all you fucking retards in comics media, comics journalism, and the comics industry keep heralding Mark fucking Waid around while he's been present for the entire collapse of it too. You know who didn't? All the people that fucking left.
Yeah, and there's plenty of examples about how this can be exceptionally harmful to companies and industries and all kinds of stuff, and certainly fandoms. I think a great example out there is still like the gaming fandom. I know that you're part of that, the real comic book gamer. And those guys actually push back so hard against their entire audience that companies are literally collapsing there too.
Yeah, the gaming had it rough because it's been invaded by a lot of outsiders that don't necessarily care about games at all, but are trying to make it for people that don't care about games. And so it's kind of destroying that industry. And it turns out when you make games for people that won't buy them, it's not a good business model.
Well, how can you have
tell
journalism
that will buy them that they're terrible?
Yeah.
Well, how can I just saw that the game journalists are cheering the fact that there might be skippable boss fights in upcoming games. And I'm like, how can you review a game if you don't understand part of the fun is learning how to defeat the bosses? Like getting good is part of the fun. Like, are you just the story? Then just watch a real gamer play it on their YouTube channel. You don't even need to play it. You just can review the story and say, I didn't play this. I can't review the game mechanics, but here's what I thought of the story.
Ever since that Cuphead tutorial thing happened with that one journalist, it's been over. It's been there was that Cuphead was a very hard game, but there's a tutorial which is super easy, teaches you how to play a game. A journalist failed so hard he couldn't beat the tutorial, and it just exposed that these are the people that are reviewing the games. A lot of them will play a little bit, fail, and then they'll watch a YouTube playthrough and review the game when they didn't even play through it themselves. So they were completely exposed, and it's been funny ever since then.
So like Cuphead from Netflix?
So yeah, it was a game before that. Yeah. It was originally a game. Yeah.
That's an amazing cartoon.
Yeah.
Amazing game.
They could just watch the cartoon then.
It's
Don't play the game. Watch
thing
the
to Looney
fucking
Tunes that
cartoon.
you'll find.
If all you give a shit about is the story, just watch the fucking cartoon.
Don't play the Sam and Max Telltale game. Just watch the cartoon. It's fine.
If you can't beat a Telltale game,
I know, right?
Are the most retarded person on the planet.
This is so hard. Or the old Lucas.
What dialogue option do I select?
So
I need skippable dialogue options.
Why would you be able to skip the boss in a game? I don't understand the.
It doesn't make any sense because there are a lot of games where the whole point is how hard it is, so they don't have a difficulty setting. And then there are a lot of people that come out and say this should have an easy mode. It's like, well, that's not part of the game. That's not part of the game. Director did not have that as part of it for a reason. Part of it is you go in there and you fail 1,000 times and you finally beat it and it feels amazing. And if you just go, I beat it first try because it's on easy, then it's like you're missing the experience. That's not the experience that the person that created it wanted you to have. But
my experience with games, for the most part, is the whole point of the boss fight is to get you the XP and the level ups necessary to fight normal fights in the next couple of rounds.
And to teach you this is the things that you're going to need to, the things that you're going to need to master in order to beat the next boss or get through the next level. It's because a lot of times you're unlocking new skills or you're learning new tactics, and that's what the boss is there to teach you.
Because then you got to fight. Then the fucking skeletons that you're fighting in the next round are now much more difficult than the ones you fought before, and you're sitting there going, why can't I beat these? I was just beating them just fine. Because you skipped the fucking boss fight, you dumb bastard.
Oh, I can't complete the Arkham games because some of the guys started blocking, and I don't know how. I need to skip them. No, you need to learn to do your cape swipe
Mhm.
You know,
Gotta
You
start
need to
'em
go
first.
purchase-
Yeah.
You need to craft and purchase some better armor while you're at it too, and level up that sword.
That's like one of the coolest things about modern games is you start at like a basic level and then they add so much stuff onto your character just as far as abilities, weapons, mechanics, and all this stuff that you can use as everything gets harder and harder. Like who wants to get into like the WWE game and just go right into the fucking main event of WrestleMania and not even have to wrestle the match, just be like the champion?
Yeah, you can just skip it. Just skip the match, and then you're
The
champion.
career mode, you want to go up, you got to start out in NXT, make your
just
way up to SmackDown.
You start and now you're the champion, and then you're like, okay, I won. No, you didn't.
Yeah.
You didn't do anything.
2 out of 5. Game was too short.
Yeah, you started as the champ, you dumb bastard. Like what the fuck? If you can't, it was too short. You didn't have to achieve anything.
Yeah, I think the media around these like smaller industries, certainly comic books, gaming, and stuff like that, have truly ultimately ended up being like the bad guys in the entire story. Like you read the story from the comics beat, it has a definite agenda along with it, but it's not really even acknowledging any of the actual things associated with these people in there. And they always kind of leave that stuff out. And then you get into gaming and it's, they've ruined their reputation. There's been like 10 years of fights going on back there.
The only thing that they have made in that article that was valid is back in the day when I had to write a letter. Guess what?
If I stamp it.
Well, no, I had to put a postage stamp, and if I called them a fucking retard because they're being retarded, they wouldn't print my letter.
Well, that's what they don't like. It's not that anything's changed. It's the fact that they can't control the narrative. They can't censor it. It's not like when they were, celebrities and they would show up on the fan forums and they'd be able to tell the owner of the forum, well, if you want me to keep coming here, you better, get rid of this guy or you better get rid of that guy. They relished that power. And unfortunately, that's why they all went off to Bluesky, is because, they wanted their echo chamber back. They hate the fact that Elon Musk opened up X and that anybody can tell them what's what, that everybody has kind of like an equal ability to put their opinion out there. That's what they can't stand. That's why they can't stand free speech. That's why they're like, we need hate controls and hate controls will be expanded to any speech that I don't like or any speech that disagrees with me. That's they are authoritarian in nature, and either they just deny it to themselves or they're too blind to see it. But a lot of the things that they rail against are things that they actually endorse just on their side. So I don't want Mark Waid's ability to be an asshole taken away from him by some arbitrary force. I just want him to learn to stop being an asshole. I want him to learn to be a happier person, to, have a better opinion of his fellow man, and to stop tying it into what he perceives as, politics being the ultimate end all of morality, because quite frankly, it's not. That's what I would rather see, but I don't want anybody censored by some, authoritarian regime that decides that what they say, shouldn't be said.
No, I just wanted to acknowledge that this guy is an asshole. He's been toxic essentially his entire career, and he's probably the wrong spokesman for this fucking argument.
Agree, and that's what.
Yeah, it's like pot meet kettle. It's like you contribute to the toxicity. If you were like, okay, like here's a guy who let me just throw out an example of a guy that I completely disagree with on almost everything he posts. Unless it's just like this artist is great and things like that, and then I think he's dead on. Jimmy Palmiotti. Jimmy Palmiotti posts a lot of stuff that I would argue with him. But Jimmy Palmiotti is beloved by everybody because if you push back on him, generally, as long as you're not an asshole, if you just push back on him, he'll be like, well, he kind of will give some ground. He'll be like, all right, well, I don't agree, but I can kind of see where you're coming from. It's like Jimmy's a nice guy. He presents himself in a good way. And so he still has fan goodwill with him. And I commend him for that. It's tough to have a strong opinion, to put your opinion out there, but then still maintain a good rapport with people that disagree with you. It's, it used to be called being an adult, but it's just really hard for people now, apparently. So it's like, you can come at me and you can disagree with me all day long, and I still can be friends with you. I don't have to agree with you to love you. I don't have to agree with you to think that you're a decent person or that you're worth talking to. You can. I don't. You're welcome, Sully. You're never going to convince me on those interior variants, but
ever. But still, but I still love you. I never want a brother like you. I always want a brother like you besides me.
Yeah,
I mean,
I'll fight for Sully's right to say the Jeff the Land Shark is a good book.
Thank
My
you.
right to mock him and make fun of him.
Mock him and make fun of him because it's wicked retarded to say that out loud. But I do it for
just
the
speaking
ratings.
of Jeff, just speaking of Jeff and speaking of comics in general, not to bring this back to Tom Brevoort's dumb statements about Marvel Rivals not being people aren't interested in the characters, they're interested in game mechanics. Perch said, I hate Jeff the Land Shark. I despise that character with every fiber of my being. But he's really popular in Marvel Rivals right now. So if I was in charge of Marvel, I'd be like, there better be some Jeff the Land Shark merch out there. There better be some Jeff the Land Shark comics on the shelf, and we better be trying to promote it to the games. It's like Tom Brevoort can talk about how we can't. I know I'm derailing from Mark Waid a little bit here, but he can talk about how Marvel Rivals, it's not a driver for the comics, but it could be. I worked for Ape Entertainment with Brett Irwin and David Hedgecock. And you know what the number one selling comic for a while is that never got reported by places like Bleeding Cool, and it didn't chart because it wasn't in comic book stores? Pocket God was the number one selling comic. And the reason was it was produced and it was put into the game as something that you could buy. And if they were producing Jeff the Land Shark comics and making it so that you could buy them within Marvel Rivals, they'd be selling those digitally. They could be selling comics digitally to gamers, featuring those designs, featuring those characters. But they don't know how to capitalize on it because you got a bunch of out of touch, bitter old men running the show.
Yeah. I just thought the panel, like everything, Dylan kind of mentioned earlier, like, why have Ian Nesenti on this panel talking about toxic fans, since basically it's unanimous that fans love her and they don't have anything bad to say about her?
Bro, I think you're forgetting all the shit she did in New 52. Like, she got a lot of hate for a while.
Oh, she did get some hate on that Katana book, didn't she?
No,
but overall,
Catwoman.
Was there like I see? I don't.
Oh yeah, no, she got. I mean, so I'll even own up to being
New 52 is like 15 years ago, right?
Yeah, but I mean, she got ran into the ground, so I can see why she's there. That book fucking sucked. So,
also,
but I mean, and you're always gonna you're always gonna run into people who are absolutely rude in what they say, and you just shrug it off. You just need to be able to shrug it off. You need, like, if you have to deal, if you've ever dealt with anybody in your real life, any kind of conflict in your real life, strife on the internet is nothing. People coming at me and talking shit to me on the internet means nothing to me because I don't know you. Like, I don't really know you. So if you're really super rude to me, I don't internalize that. Now, if you're someone here in the chat who, I've interacted with and I respect, and you go, that thing you did really sucked, that's going to affect me, but I'm not going to go like, well, you suck. I'm going to go like, oh, what didn't you like about it? And then I'm going to look at it, try to see it from your perspective and see if I can do better next time. Because ultimately, the people in here who go and who buy your comics, whether you're Marvel or DC or me or, Dylan decides to do a comic or what have you, like the people that buy your comics, they are your customers. They are the people that you have to satisfy. When I write Kneel Before Doomface, I am not only writing to satisfy what I want to do with a book, but I'm like, what will readers find funny? What will readers find amusing? What will they find exciting? How can I build to that? And how can I give them the things that they want that they don't know that they want, but in a way that they don't expect? That's kind of how you have to approach it. Because ultimately, if I turn all of you guys off and I make all of you guys mad, my book doesn't sell and I can't do my book anymore. So it is like the Gungans and the Dabu, man. It's a symbiotic circle. The customers and the writers, because you are the people that make their dreams possible. So never let them tell you that you're unimportant or that you're all toxic or that, man, this job would really be great if it wasn't for the effing customers. Don't let them take that attitude with you at all, because you are the lifeblood of this industry, whether they like it or not. And that's the thing that they can't stand, is they just don't get to create art. They're creating commercial art, which means it has to be commercial. It has to be sellable.
Yeah, and to a general audience too, for all of us. Eat plebnista. Yeah. It matters to the Yangs and the Khans.
But I do think the lack of physical interactions that people are having, I think more people are having social interactions with screens rather than actual people, has led to a downfall as far as like courtesy and discourse and stuff like that. I'm sure Dylan has realized it more than most people, being of that generation that kind of grew up with all that stuff widely available. But there are a lot of people out there that should probably get slapped around just because they don't know how to talk to people.
Oh, there's definitely Go ahead, Dylan.
No, I was just gonna say it goes back to like, everyone gets a trophy. So even going back to elementary ages, in the States now, you have states where like if you fail, you don't get held back until you're in like 4th grade. Like if you fail your school year, you don't get held back. People don't hear no. They don't hear they didn't do something well enough. Like you're teaching these kids that you should just get whatever you want. And now the age group is moving into the adult world and they can't cope. We actually have businesses right now that are implementing training, like actual work training to teach staff how to take feedback, not even bad feedback, just to take feedback. Like we're having to do that because we're not letting people grow up socially. So you factor that in from a professional standpoint, but also the standpoint that these kids can't have genuine conversations, like face-to-face conversations. We're in a fucked up world right now.
Well,
Yeah,
there is. I was going to say there's where we've reached a point where people have no concern about being punched in the mouth for some of the things they say.
Yeah, right. I remember listening to my nephew. He was speaking, I'm assuming to adults playing SOCOM, like probably 15 years ago, like on PlayStation Online. And he's like literally calling grown men cocksuckers and stuff. I was like, ooh.
That's par for the course. That's that's pretty tame.
No, that's what I'm saying though, is that was an 8-year-old kid, and you have like a generation of people that grew up thinking that you could just say whatever you want to people and it doesn't really matter.
Well, I saw a video the other day of like some teenager that was like at a school, and the cop was coming up to him because there'd been some kind of issue, and the cop was like, "Turn around, put your hands behind your head," and the kid's like, "Or what? Or what?" in the cop's face, and then he found out he got put in a front face lock and he got taken down to the ground. That's or what? It's like
I thought he was gonna get tased.
I mean, that would have been better, but it's like keep the cop out of the fray. But it's like, and then people in the thing are like going, the cop had no reason to do that. He gave the person a lawful order. Just told him to turn around, put his hands behind his head so he could pat him down, make sure that he doesn't have a weapon before he interacts with him. And the kid, the kid threw attitude. The kid threw aggression. Well, when you throw aggression, sometimes you find out in the real world you get met with aggression. And the problem
especially with a police officer who has no idea what the current state of the situation is. Do you have weapons? Do you have a gun, knife?
Are you high?
What have you actually threatened people to do? They have to, get to a baseline where they can figure out what exactly is going on. So if you're threatening and they don't know if you have a weapon or not. Look,
don't start none, won't be none. And that needs to be, something that people remember and that people internalize. The problem is, and this goes for, anybody who's really super rude or awful on the internet, but it also goes for Mark Waid, which is you get real brave behind the keyboard. I guarantee you the sort of things that Mark Waid says, he wouldn't be saying to somebody's face in public unless he had a mob with him.
Well,
it's not the sort of thing that he's going to be out there. He's not brave. He likes to talk about like, oh, I've got big shoulders. No, you don't. No, you don't. In real life, you don't. So what are you doing?
He's got skinny little girl shoulders.
Well,
physically,
besides the point, but didn't he get a guy kicked out of a Comic-Con just for not liking him once?
Yeah, because he's a bitch.
Yeah.
I mean, here's the thing:
a retailer or something.
Here's the thing: I am not a huge guy by any stretch, but I will definitely call Mark Waid a bitch to his face because I really don't have any fear of him hitting me.
Well, I hope it's out on the street, Doc, because otherwise he's going to call security on you.
I know.
Remember, Mark Brooks talks a big game online, and then he says, well, you can come by and talk to me if you don't like it, to Gabe El Taib, and then 6'70" Gabe El Taib shows up and just takes a picture in front of his booth and says, hey Mark, I came by to talk to you, but you weren't here. And what does Mark do? He goes crying to security.
Just
it's like don't
pull up.
Yeah, don't it's like I'm not sitting here saying that I want to get into a fight at a con. That's ridiculous. I don't want to get into a fight at a con. It's like, but I'm on here talking shit.
I'm waiting for
I'm on here giving you my opinion, and if you want to come up to me and you want to talk to my opinion, I'll talk to you about my opinion, and we can hash it out face to face. And I'm not gonna cry and call security because you came over to talk to me.
Man, are you gonna hit somebody with your walker?
I'm gonna take my boot off, and what's the line from Billy Madison? I'm also the only guy who ever took his skate out and tried to stab somebody with his skate.
Keep a derringer tucked in your boot. A blunder
and
bus.
for all the shit that I talk, I'm very laid back in person. And if anybody ever wants to come and say I didn't like that thing you said, I will listen to you. I understand you didn't like the thing I said. Convince me why I was wrong. I'm willing to give you that leeway.
A lot of the stuff that they deem to be like toxic behavior from the fandom itself just isn't toxic. It's having their own opinions, beliefs, the things that they like. I mean, obviously Dylan experiences more than any of us, where he basically got kicked out of a comic book shop, not for saying anything bad about the comic book shop, not for saying anything bad about their customer service or their building or their maintenance or anything about the comic book shop itself, but simply for supporting something that they didn't like.
Yeah, for saying he bought Jawbreakers.
Toxic.
Yes. Yeah. That was before the comic was even out too, so no one even knew it was in it if there was anything like terrible in it to support. And
it was any good.
That. Yeah, and it turns out it wasn't. But
I'm just wondering whether or not Mark bringing up his fucking lawsuit with Richard is a violation, because I'm pretty sure they're not allowed to talk about it.
Or each other. Like, I feel like they're not allowed to talk about each other or defame. Like, he danced around it. Like,
Well, referring to it as a nuisance lawsuit is
true.
Yeah. I mean, it is, I feel like it's right on the edge.
I mean, it was a completely legitimate lawsuit. It went through the court system, and it only ended when Richard decided that it wasn't worth the money or the time. It was taken, like it fell into the whole COVID void. And so it was stretching on forever. And it was just like, is this really worth this much of my life? And I get that. And I know it disappointed people that he dropped the lawsuit. People really wanted to see Waid get what was coming to him and go through the, the full court system and probably get some discovery going and, some stuff out in the public. But, ultimately you have to, you have to give the guy the leeway to decide what's best for his own life, and if dealing with that lawsuit for years on end was not edifying to him, I understand why he dropped it.
Yeah, but also another thing that comes in with the supposed toxic fans, Sully is the most gentle creature in the history of the world. Wow. Even when he says something bad, it comes off as pretty nice. He generally speaking likes books that I would never consider like admitting that I liked in public.
Even
at least.
Fishing, yeah.
But you get mass blocked by people. You get blacklisted and stuff as being toxic just for not even ever for your words. That's the problem.
Adjacency. I mean, that was the big thing like 4 or 5 years ago. Like, I follow Ethan. I do. I watch his show too, and I think he's funny. He's my cup of tea. He might not be yours. You know what I mean? But does that make me a bad person? Well, you're going to try to leverage that into making me think I am. And I reject that. Or did I like the wrong tweet? Did I say something kind of, did I refer to Joanne Starr's Fire and Ice as wine aunt humor and get blocked for something as an innocuous comment? That's as negative as I get. I don't punch down on creators. I think of Cui Bono.
Well, they're so far above you, Sully, because you're just a fan. You're just a customer. You can't punch down because they sit on they breathe rarefied air.
I know. And it's just like, I said something like, what is up with Danny Rand and Iron Fist? And I end up on an anti-Asian American Pacific Islanders, block list. On Twitter.
Is that a true story? Or are you like,
this is why
that's a true
someone
story,
in my chat pointed that out to me, who was Chinese American. I said that Greg Pak and Alyssa Wong blocked me on Twitter with no interactions. And then she was like, oh, you're probably on an AAPI block list. And that makes complete sense. And because I've known Danny Rand all of my life, and I'm wondering what's going on with Iron Fist.
That might just be a being from Boston thing.
Wicked pisser, kid.
Yeah, people are like, I don't like that guy with his Boston accent. Coming on here with his Newsies hat.
His Newsies hat and trying to be like all this and all that.
People say nutty shit. I was told that I'm xenophobic.
Really?
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm afraid of xenobites too.
Wes, I don't know how to tell you this, but you're really bad at being xenophobic.
I'm terrible. I live in a foreign country with not white people, married to my not white wife and my not white kids. Like, how the hell am I xenophobic? But because you're
doing it wrong.
Whatever, you can just say whatever the fuck you want.
Yeah.
Okay, so you're xenophobic and you're incompetent, is what they're telling you.
Xenophobic bad.
Wes is xenophobic. I'm homophobic.
Yeah. I'm Irish phobic.
Well, what I think is funny is anytime anyone has ever tried to, make an istrophobe thing stick. It's like, yeah, look at the creative teams I work with all the time. You know, it's like, oh, you're anti this, you're anti that. I'm like, well, let's see. Both my current artist and my current colorist are Hispanic. The letterer that I use all the time is black. Another colorist that I use all the time is black. I mean, and I hate the fact that you guys make me think about that you know, that you have to rattle those things off, because it didn't used to be that way. You would just be like, hey, this guy's really good, and you would hire him, and it didn't really matter, and you didn't think about it, you know? But now everything is broken down into identity. But it's like, yeah, if you really want to do that, no, I've worked with everybody. I'm willing to work with everybody. I don't have any inherent bias or prejudices that I'm working from when it comes to people that can be my friend or be my family, or, you know, be, you know, in business with me.
A couple of years ago, somebody actually went into the comments and called me a racist. And I was
really?
I think it's kind of weird. How could I be a racist? You know, my wife is Asian. My children are Asian. I live in Asia.
You're
I was like, I might not be the world's greatest racist here. And she goes, that stuff means nothing. I was like, the way that I live my life and the people that I choose to love and care for means nothing. Like, it feels like that should define exactly who I am, because those are my actions.
It means nothing against the accusation, Wes, because the accusation is the proof and the and the verdict and everything, you know, that needs to be arrayed against you. It doesn't matter what you actually have in your life that refutes it. The accusation has been made, and that is
guys. We learned that racism only exists against black people. Okay, come on.
Hey,
well,
I'm kind of racist. I think all white people look alike.
Oh, thanks, Don.
I know, like, you know, like it talks always like
bald white guy.
He's looking around the white people at Huntington Beach, and he's like, look at all these mayonnaise mother effers. And I'm like, geez, Doc, keep your voice down. You're gonna get us killed.
Like when I got into this thing, the YouTube spheres, and, you know, the different shows that unites us in this, you know, kind of critiquing culture of ours, the fandom menace was a big hashtag in a movement, and I thought that was so clever, the name itself. And I met a lot of genuine heartbroken Star Wars fans at that time, and I was like, and I've used the hashtag too, but apparently that makes me part of a hate group. Are you kidding me? These idiots? Myself, I'm an idiot too. And we're apparently we're a hate group because you're trying to leverage something? No, just because, see, that's when the whole toxic fan, you know, accusation breaks down.
Here's what it comes down to. Yeah, fine. I'm a toxic fan. Fuck you. I don't care.
Yeah, you still only my money.
Yeah, you still only have a job because I choose to spend money on you. You can go with the non-toxic fans. They're generally kind of broke commies, but I mean, good luck getting money out of them.
I mean, they're happy to read your stuff. They're happy to read your stuff for free on the pirate sites, and then you know, blow smoke up your ass on Bluesky.
Yeah, go for it. I'm pretty sure all those likes and retweets will pay your mortgage.
Yeah. So there you go. We're all toxic again. I don't know why.
I love it. Fuck yes.
Hey,
I honestly, I legitimately love being called a toxic fan.
Mm-hmm.
I was talking about
my heart.
We were talking about this on World Class Bullshitters on Tuesday night. You know, we were talking about how it used to be, you know, before we had all these screens, before our entire world was through the internet. You know, your parents used to throw you out as a kid, you know, during the summertime. They'd be like, get out of the house, go play, you know, don't come back till the street lights are coming on. And you'd have to get on your bike and you'd have to go figure out something to do. And, you know, you'd go up to the liquor store and you'd buy some comics and get a soda, and then you'd pedal around with your friends. And then eventually you'd end up on a street you were never on before. And you would come across some kid and he'd be a different race, different ethnicity. You know, you didn't know him, but he had a G.I. Joe shirt on. And you were like, you like G.I. Joe? And he was like, yeah, I like G.I. Joe. And the next thing you know, you were playing with that kid and he was part of your friends group. And you didn't really even think about where he was from or his family or things like that. You know, we talked a little bit.
Didn't even know his last name for a year.
Yeah, you didn't, you know, and maybe you didn't know his first name for a couple weeks.
They don't know the first names of the people that they still hang out with 5 years later.
We respect each other's privacy. You know? It's like-
He
If you
didn't
wanted
tell
me to
me.
know, you would have told me by now.
Yeah.
but you know, it's like
That's
for, like
important.
I was bitching last week about how Fisher Stevens is a national treasure, and he should never have been made to apologize for his role as Ben Javari in the Short Circuit movies. And I thought about it afterwards, and I was like, yeah, I had an Indian friend when I was a kid named Sharuk, and I remember that was like a big deal to him, that character. And the kids at school all of a sudden thought he was pretty cool because they saw Short Circuit, and all of a sudden they were interested in like his family and kind of the stuff that went on, and like, oh, like it actually opened up doors.
It was the Slumdog Millionaire of its time.
It was. It's like the when they were bitching, all the social justice warriors complaining because like white kids were wearing Maui costumes from Moana. And or kid, they're like, those tattoos are sacred to the Hawaiian people and blah blah blah, and that kid has no right wearing them. That kid looks at Maui and sees him as a hero enough that he wants to emulate him. He's not seeing his skin color; he's seeing that character from that culture as a hero. That's how you actually beat racism. That's how you actually conquer these prejudices that you say that we all have internalized. Just be kids. And if a white kid likes Jon Stewart and wants to dress up as Jon Stewart because he watches the Justice League Unlimited costume or the Justice League Unlimited cartoon, you don't stop him from doing that. You let him do it. If a black kid wants to dress up as Superman, you let him do it. That's how you conquer these things. Not by continually reminding us of all of the things that make us different, but by celebrating all the things that make us the same.
That's right, Josh. I will never disparage you for being a homo. We are the same.
Ebony
We
and
like-
Hey,
I'm-
I love butt sex too.
live
Whoa.
together in perfect harmony.
went weird.
Wow, what a good segue.
Sorry, everybody. My friends are degenerates.
And let's get to these super chats, everyone, ladies. and
Yeah,
gentlemen.
let's hear from HH German and the fellas at Sigma
Oh.
Comics. Keep it tuned to the best in the biz. Hit like and subscribe. Next weekend, it's Fan Expo Philly, but
Nice.
please go back Calico Morality Play on Kickstarter today. Absolutely do that. Had a great time checking out that book last week. It is live right now on Kickstarter. Mike Barron, Klaus Janson back together again for the first time since their amazingly awesome run on The Punisher. Definitely go check that out. And we will be seeing HH and the crew while we're in Dallas. It's going to be amazing.
Yeah, I can't wait.
Yeah,
I'm gonna
looking
be
forward.
hanging out at HH's table. He has
Mhm.
generously allowed Drew and I to come because we couldn't get a table of our own. It was too late. But he's generously allowed a little bit of real estate for us so the aficionados can hang out. And also, Drew will have a special edition of Unholy Nightmare there. And I will have a special preview edition of Kneel Before Doomface. We are in the lettering stage right now on the main book. So we're going to be fulfilling pretty soon.
Mhm.
But we will have like a preview edition with some art, completely uncluttered by lettering. So you just get to see every beautiful thing that Renzo drew and that Oscar colored without
Nice.
my stupid word balloons getting in the way.
Very, very cool. Nerd says, hot take. This is the feminization of media. When the media was masculine, harshness was expected. Deal with it or get out. Now it's egalitarian. Everyone feels.
Everybody hurts sometimes.
Yeah, bitchification.
Yeah.
That's what we get for putting shoes on them and letting them out in the workforce. They expect things now. Oh, geez.
There comes a point where you are expected to take off the fluffy bunny slippers of the boy and put on the hard-soled work shoes of the man.
I definitely noticed my last 6 years or so in the Air Force, direct feedback was never ever responded well to, where you would say, no, don't do that, do this. Like, how could you, they took it very, very personal. It's like, we don't have time for me to explain everything right now because we're on a time crunch. You're going to do that, and then I'll explain it afterwards. They almost you couldn't tell somebody directly to do it this way, or you're doing it wrong, or they would even make formal complaints, like, he must hate my guts because he said I was doing it wrong. I was like, well, that's not the way I trained him, and it was wild.
I don't hate your
Sounds
guts
like Josh
because
is
you
dealing
were.
with it.
I don't hate your guts because you were doing it wrong. I hate your guts because you responded like a pansy.
Pretty much.
But you're dealing with this too, though, Josh.
Oh yeah, I daily, all the time.
Yeah.
To the point that I have to say, listen, I understand the importance of buy-in, but we don't have time to have a 45-minute conversation right now.
Right.
So do it and I'll explain later.
Yes,
Fuck
there's
what?
different types of leadership, and time crunches call for a different type of leadership where it's like no talking, just do it right now.
Let me tell you about the chain of command. The chain of command is the chain I run and beat you with until you do what I say.
Now, see, if I had said something like that, those complaints could have been legitimate, but I
Right.
never threatened harm.
No,
'Cause,
same.
that's not my nature. The nerd says, man might equal right, woman reputation is everything. That must have been the ending of the last one. I probably apologize, nerd. Probably should have included that on the first one, but I think we covered that one. Very, very good. Dion says, the most toxic comic fandom is the Reddit DC Comics grew. They don't read any comics. They are racist and always get mad when you mention continuity errors.
I honestly, r/comic books is quite possibly the shittiest place on the entire internet for
Really?
you don't ever expect to actually have a discussion.
Never gone there. I don't do Reddit.
Don't. It's
not worth it.
It's really not. You absolutely cannot do anything except for like current product, beg for new product.
I am curious, like how they're racist. Like how do they juxtapose being, rigidly conformist but also racist? Like how do they do that? Like I'm curious, but I'm not going there to find out. Dion, just DM me somewhere, Dion, and explain.
I think if you go far enough on the left, you will find the most racist people in the world. So that's probably what.
Well, I mean, it starts out with the bigotry of low expectations, and I have to prop these people up because they can't do it on their own. It's the whole "I have big shoulders" thing again. Don't worry, people of color. I will speak for you because I am mighty. That kind of attitude. And then just the further you go, the more awful it gets.
Basically, any comic book subreddit is not worth your time. You are not going to be allowed to have an opinion of your own. Any opinion that you put up that is outside the group will get you immediately banned.
Mm-hmm.
Perhaps forever, but more likely for a couple of days. It's weird.
And you know what, Wes? Thank you very much for giving us your space, for sharing this show with all of us, because this is where we get the balanced, thoughtful, forthright conversations. I've never really seen the chat devolve into any kind of BS. I've never seen huge fights break out. We've had such different opinions, but it's always smooth and cool here. So thank you, man.
Well, you're allowed to disagree with us too. Like, look, we got. Remember, we had that big row going in the chat, and it kind of found its way into the show when there were just people that were just severely anti-Damien that were in the chat, and it still didn't devolve into
right,
calling. We got the best chat in the world. We got just really laid back people that are here to have a good time. And if you're here to have a good time, we're gonna try to provide it for you.
Yeah. So stay away from the subreddit, dude. It's not a good place to be, especially if you actually like comic books and you can point out facts, because that is the wrong audience. You need to be probably on the Twitter sphere, maybe on YouTube. It's probably some Facebook groups or something like that with people that actually read comic books. Julio Gonzalez, I am lucky that I'm an older person. I'm not on social media at all. I have no idea what anyone is posting. Personally, it is anti-social media. The safety of posting online is pitiful, petty, and cowardly.
Unless you're me and you say everything under your own name, every obnoxious thought that comes into your head.
Exactly.
Then it's not cowardly; it's just stupid.
Well, and the other thing too is if Aaron said something about me and then I had a beef with it, I would then go up to him and be like, "Yo, what's up?" And Aaron would be like, "Yeah, I feel this way." But Aaron would then also have a cordial conversation, unless you're just, egregiously awful.
I try to be nicer than the way that people come at that. If you come at me sideways, I try to be nice up until the point that it's evident that you're just trying to be a dick, and then I will beat you at being a dick.
Absolutely.
So,
right there with you. I'm gonna match your energy. If you're gonna come in to be a dick and that's your sole purpose, I can be a dick right back to you.
Wait,
if you want to,
did Aaron just say, "I'm gonna beat you like a dick"?
No, I didn't say that.
Wow.
Wes, you gotta stop having these little sub fantasies going on in your head.
Get the dick out of your ear, Wes.
I think he said, "I'm gonna beat you like a dick."
Also, can we acknowledge that Sully's like bullshit? We all love each other, and this is a friendly place. That does not give him a pass for liking Jeff the Shark and fucking Venom this week.
And interior variants.
Yeah.
The heart wants what the heart wants, man. Come on, love
The
is love.
heart's wrong.
But I am noticing.
You know who said the heart wants what the heart wants? Woody Allen. And look how that turned out.
I will say I'm noticing far more people that I know going the Julio Gonzalez route of just dropping all social media altogether.
It's not a bad idea.
Yeah,
It's not a bad
that's
idea.
why-
I mean, if I didn't need it to promote, and I honestly, like, I have so much fun. Like, I think that I just have the right mindset for social media, and I know that Doc like kind of approaches it the same way. Is that we're both very fire and forget. We put out a tweet, and then we just forget about it. Like, it doesn't matter. Like, and I've seen like. Later, I've got, I don't know, my Twitter account filters what they call low quality responses. So if you have like a very low follower account and you're like anonymous and, you're posting under the name of, like, I don't know, Johnny Scrotum 34 or whatever, like it filters that out. So I never see your responses unless I actually click and go in and look. And I rarely do that. So like I've seen like full on arguments erupt in my, when I've gone in and I've clicked and I'm like, oh, this has like 34 different messages based on it, and it's just like people fighting with each other in the thing. Like you have to have a certain temperament to be able to survive social media, and unfortunately a lot of comic people don't. They don't have the ability to handle criticism or to handle any kind of pushback. They're very frail. Maybe they were bullied as kids and they didn't ever stand up to the bullies, so they don't know how to do it. They never developed that thicker skin. So
what I did was I made friends with the bullies, and then they bullied other people for me.
That's right. Wes became the kingpin of the bully pool. Yes. And he was like, go kick that guy's ass.
I just want to shove these fucking comic industry nerds in lockers.
Yeah. Nerd says game journalists aren't gamers. They're tourists desperate to be part of the conversation. They want the prestige of being part of the fandom without the work.
Yep. That's the same with most journalists for comics also, where just every comic is a 4 out of 5 stars. How is that? I've read this comic. It's dog shit. Same with games, where it's like every Call of Duty is an 8 out of 10, but it's been the same thing for 10 years. How are they all 8 out of 10s? None of these people actually enjoy what they're reviewing. Or actually fans of it or part of it.
I think you could have stopped your statement at these journalists. Because it's not just comics journalists or gaming journalists, it's journalists. If there is a more reprehensible profession, I don't know what it is.
Journalism used to be a noble
Lawyers,
profession because it was the people that were on the outside that were actually willing to call bullshit. What you found now is the call is coming from inside the house because they're all in collusion with the companies, with the with whatever it is, because they all want in. They all want a piece of the money. They all want a piece of the pie. So they're going to toe the company line. Whereas it used to be, the idea of journalism was that you were objective and you were outside and you were looking at things and you were viewing them with a critical eye. Now it's just we're clapping seals that cheer corporate product and cheer corporate messaging and what is the current message of the day and what is our political activism, and then how do we incorporate that into telling you, the customer, that you're bad for not agreeing with us.
Yeah, I mean they're actual. I know this for a fact. Even Jim can speak to this. So before I left Batman News, I had a site trying to poach me, but they had a rule that you could not score things less than 7 out of 10, and if you did, it could only happen within a certain number of reviews. And I was like, "Fuck that mess!" Like, no. So
then why is it their metric just 7 to 10?
Because
I mean, it's
because
1 to
then
4
that
at
would be
that
telling on themselves. But it goes back. They want the access, whether they want to either be in this industry or they just want to keep getting the free shit. And the reason I mentioned Jim is, Jim got contacted by DC of being like, "Hey, be more positive, or we're not sending you our stuff." And he said, "I'm giving honest reviews," and then they stopped sending him their stuff. So
okay,
it's agreed. And Jim said, "Okay, that's fine. I'll just sell the high seas and still tell you how shit your shit is."
Mm-hmm.
But, yeah.
Yo ho, yo ho.
Yeah, they see it as a stepping stone to get into the industry rather than the privilege to talk about the industry and what is good and bad about it. Unfortunately,
I'm just trying to think if there is a more reprehensible profession.
I told you, lawyers, politicians,
lawyers, maybe. Politicians, Sometimes. Can people make a
Professional
career?
liars.
Can people make a career out of being a chomo? If so, Jeff
Wes,
Epstein.
You're saying professional liars, but I mean, I think that covers all three. Like
Yes.
all three have become
Well,
professional.
yes, they're equally reprehensible. But he's
but
asking
but politicians and lawyers actually have power to affect your lives, whereas journalism's to a much lesser extent.
What are you talking about? Journalists have basically within the last 10 years helped destroy the gaming industry, the comic book industry, by being able to influence the decision makers. Journalists influence the decision makers.
That is the problem.
In
That is a
government?
problem. I would say that is a problem of the populace for being influenceable.
I think
If you are susceptible to propaganda, that's your own fault.
Yeah. I agree with that, but there's a lot of folks out there, unfortunately, that their ability to actually think critically on anything that is outside their immediate world is almost zero. Like they just believe what the box in their dashboard or the box in their hand or the box on their wall says. Unfortunately.
Finally, Federico de la Casa says what Waid and others have in their pockets that keep these publishers from firing them and let them ruin the universe and what is it that Waid and others have in their pockets that keep these publishers from firing them and let them ruin universe and customers? Sure, the industry will burn.
The referral-like need to attach yourself to something that's relevant. So, Wade's tried to do the independent comic scene. He did it at Boom and things like that. And he had Irredeemable had a decent run and Incorruptible had a decent run, because his name and Boom putting everything that they had behind those books. But, he's never had a breakout hit that he's not Mark Miller. And that's part of the reason that he's so jealous of Mark Miller and why he attacks Mark Miller whenever he can.
Not Robert Kirkman.
There's that inherent jealousy of the fact that it should have been me, and so the only way that he or a Dan Slott has any kind of relevance or feeling of importance is by being attached to these characters that people actually love. So that keeps them in some sort of conversation. So that's why they keep going back to the publishers. The publishers keep going back to them because they're willing to take the money. They're willing to take the increasingly smaller cut of the pie that they're getting because they want the relevance. It's just that when I was at Boom, I was told by the editor, by the managing editor, when I said that, this artist isn't going to work for that. He's not going to take that cover rate. He told me, sell him on the dream. Sell him on the dream of working on American Disney comics. And I started laughing because I was like, this guy works on Italian Disney comics. Just fine. That's way more prestigious, as far as he's an Italian artist. He works on Topolino. He is great. There's nothing about this. And then finally I got the budget that I wanted and I was able to meet the artist's page rate and I was able to get a good cover out of it. But I had to fight for that because they wanted to get it as cheaply as possible, as any business does. You want to get things as cheaply as possible. But then there are people who, it's I've had people give me really low page rates and I've given them higher page rates because I've said, no, I'm going to give you this. I can afford to give you this. You're worth this. You're actually worth a lot more, but this is what I can afford to give you. So that's what I'm going to give you. There's a certain amount of fair play that needs to go into running a business that, unfortunately, it just doesn't really happen most of the time.
So Dion clarifies his earlier statement saying, I mean what Aaron said. They treat minorities like pets, and I, as someone who studies history, get pretty sad when I visit the Reddit DC Comics subforum.
Okay, I get it. Yeah, it's the bigotry of low expectations, as we said. You're my purse puppy, and I'm gonna take care of you, and I'm gonna speak for you. Kind of attitude.
And how dare you not think exactly how I feel like you should think? You're lucky I even allowed you to be here today.
Yeah. And if you in any way step off, of the pre-approved platform that if you step outside of the box that I've created for you, then I'm going to call you names and vilify you and say that you have internalized white supremacy.
Yeah. Well, I'm sorry that you had to deal with that, Dion. That sucks, dude.
Yeah, that's some bullshit.
Yeah, that's why we got Thinking Critical here. We got videos and discussions going on all the time. So I hope that we've provided a suitable outlet that is superior to whatever's going on the DC Comics subreddit. The nerd says, I was never going to buy, but I'm glad you're inclusive because your fans should follow my morals or I'll threaten to not buy or boycott your book.
That sounds
That's a weird threat.
That is it.
I'm
Hey,
not
if
your
you
customer,
do-
but if you ever want me to not still be your customer, you better follow my lead.
I know.
Yeah,
Listen,
I was never going to support you in any way, but I will actively attack you if I think that
I'm lactose intolerant, and I'm never going to buy your ice cream unless you.
I
do
have
what
no
say.
patience for lactose, and I will not stand for it.
Yeah. Like, what are you gonna do to protest? Buy my shit? Fuck you.
No, that costs money, Doc.
I know. And broke commies don't have that. They also don't have
I'm
food.
okay. I'm okay if people want to protest buy Kneel before Doomface.
Yes.
It's not up to me. It's not up to me to tell you why you buy it. Just please buy it.
Well, I mean, granted, there's an entire cottage industry on YouTube that gives fucking Disney money to spite watch shit.
That's
So-
true. That's true. Like you just don't watch it or you pirate it.
Yeah.
Don't give them money. Like I saw Thunderbolts, but Disney has not earned. They've lost the right for me to give them money, and until they get that back, I'll do what I did. I'll pay for a different movie, and then I'll walk in and I'll see yours.
I might go see Thunderbolts actually on my way to America. If it's still in theaters when we get to Cebu, I think I'm going to go and take my oldest to go see it.
It'll probably be on
See how it is.
Blockbuster Video by then.
It might be. I haven't bothered to look
Mm.
to see if it's made its way into the
I'm interested
high
enough.
seas,
It sounds like it's fine enough.
Yeah, it was fine. It was it's definitely the best thing they've done in a while.
Yeah.
but
Since Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3.
Yeah.
Yeah,
in fairness, it just seems like the finale was like the reverse version of the Hulk Loki fight in
Okay.
Avengers 1.
in the first Avengers.
Yeah.
kind of talking the villain down works in this in the way that it absolutely did not work in Captain a lot of different things.
Yes.
Yeah.
Completely agree.
Dion's posits, is Roy Harper the Hunter Biden of DC? Absolutely not. I like Roy Harper. He's amazing.
Yeah,
I don't
I
know.
mean-
I don't know what that means, except for maybe the smack.
Yeah, let's both do drugs. That's
Keeping
Yeah. Roy did the
That was a long time
heroin,
ago.
and Hunter does crack.
Yeah, but I was assuming
they're
he was going like the position that he held where he benefited because of who his dad was. So I was going more like a Jace Fox route,
yeah, where nobody would
where
give
he
a
was able
fuck
to
about
become
him.
a Batman because his dad stole all of Batman's money.
Well,
Yeah.
Doc, let's be honest. Nobody does give a f about Jace Fox.
Yeah,
They can put "I am Batman" on the cover all they want.
Well, that's true.
His fans just go, "Nah, you're not."
no, you're not.
They just released a book starring Jace Fox, and I don't think anybody noticed.
Nope.
I don't know. That's my answer. I say Jace Fox, I guess.
Guys, you gotta let Roy Harper move on past the drug addiction that he had in the 1970s. You gotta let him grow. Come on, Hank.
Yeah, we
Pym-
need to focus
Hank,
it on
Hank Pym
him,
has moved past
Having his
the
daughter
smack.
murdered and his arm removed, even though he was an archer, so he was basically useless. Dude, way worse stuff happened to the character since then.
Yep,
I like Roy Harper a lot. I like Arsenal.
I know he was
No.
great on great plot point on Young Justice too. I keep going back to that, but it made me like a lot of characters that otherwise I was just kind of indifferent to, like Cheshire or
Mhm.
Simon.
Well, you'll be right there for that Cheshire Cheetah book then.
I don't know, man. Like Greg Rucka, the man can write, but too often his personal stuff gets into his personal fetishes, and that guy loves lesbians.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying
I
that you
don't
can't love-
mind.
I was gonna say, I'm not saying, Doc, that you can't, but not every book can be about it.
He, I
All right,
think
let's
he.
get to some comic book recommendations because Daddy needs to get his pizza in, and
Well, no,
my
let's do
slate
another-
is
let's-
very full.
Let's do another hour. Come on.
I do not have that in me today, unfortunately. I
That's
am
what
cutting
good
it very
references
close,
to
and
comics.
we're doing some wild stuff, trying to get enough stuff going so I can actually go on vacation. But it was great having our good friend Josh McDonald return to the channel. Did you read any books in the last couple weeks that you would like to recommend?
Yeah, so one, I'll say I think it was last week, Planet Death came out by Bad Idea, which actually looks like a good tease for an ongoing series they're going to do. So Bad Idea might actually have a good idea for once. So if you didn't check that out, go check it out. This week, it was a bad week, man. Like, I think the favorite thing I read was Ultimate Wolverine, and I still have issues with it. I did not really care for the art in this issue, but I loved how brutal the violence was. So it's like, God, if they had just kept the original artist, I think I would have been happier. But
Did
I'll
you
throw
read
that out
Teen
there.
Titans Go?
No.
You missed out. Maybe that was the best book from DC.
I can easily get it and pick it up and read it. So I'll take that with a grain of salt. Also, Resurrection
It's
Man.
got Texas Robin, dude. Texas Robin.
Okay, I'll check it out. And look, I'm actually enjoying Resurrection Man. I really liked the first issue. I read the second issue and was really tired and had some mediocre opinions about it, and I had some people shit on me for it, so I reread it again when I was less tired. And for Ram V, I think it's solid work. So
I think it's pretty good.
Yeah.
The art's going to take you a little while to get used to it. It's a little bit more abstract.
The art is weird. Like anything that's background or scenery looks fantastic, but the characters look fucked up. Like not in a like, oh, they got dismembered. Or I mean, you have some of that too, but even when they're supposed to look normal, they look bad.
Absolutely. What else should people be looking out for you, Josh? I know you've got more things popping up on Pop Guy Culture. There's a link in the video description if you're interested in checking out the channel.
Heck yeah, go check out the channel, subscribe, come see what we do. We record every Tuesday. We have rotating shows on Tuesdays. And then on Thursdays, I'm with Drew doing Floppy Drop. And that's where we talk about the current week's releases and whether you should drop it in your bag or drop it in the trash bin. So
Floppy Drop.
That's right. You got to have a little bit of an innuendo there.
I've heard of that at the strip club before.
Well,
Is that at the lunch buffet, Doc?
Absolutely.
Yeah, that's where the floppies drop.
And there's Gladys.
Nerd wants to know, will any of you guys show up on Comic Book Radio Open Mic live stream Wednesday for Peter Smetti of Alterna to talk comic books?
I actually was scheduled with Peter on Tuesday, but I had a scheduling conflict because I had also agreed to be on World Class Bullshitters to fill in for Andrew. So I had to bow out, but we're rescheduling for June, so I should be on that show soon.
I will not be able to make it because I'm normally sleeping when that show comes on and live on the YouTubes. So sounds like you will get to see Aaron on his channel very soon, though. Very, very cool.
I don't get invited places.
Well, he's saying it's an open invitation.
Yeah, it's open mic mic night.
Sure.
So you can, so get up there, Doc. Do a little stand up. Kind of feel out the room, see how it goes.
Oh, yeah.
Try out some new material. It's an open mic.
Exactly. Dion says Rucka's Death of the Maidens sucks balls.
Oh, blasphemy.
Well, I think the problem is that there are no balls in it.
It's interesting. I mean, like, what happens when you kill your sister over and over and over again and keep bringing her back in a Lazarus pit until, like, she becomes your minion? Isn't that what all siblings want?
It sounds lovely. Well, there you go. Thank you for the feedback on that one. And then we do have Dylan. Did you find any comic books worth recommending this week?
Just two, which is Ultimate Wolverine. Like Josh already said, the art is a step down this week, but I still enjoyed it. And Far Down Below, issue number 2. We actually get some more into what's going on in this book. So those are the only 2 I have this week. This week was
What's
rough.
Far Down Below? What the hell are you talking about?
That's from Mad Cave. It's pretty good. It's like takes place in the 80s where beneath this house, these 2 kids go in there, and this latest issue, I guess, slight spoiler, they discover that like the grandpa that disappeared years ago is living down there, and he went to investigate when his dad went missing, and so they're trying to figure out what's going on, and it's pretty fun. It's interesting.
Who's creators? Anybody we know?
Yeah, same guy who wrote Ultimate Wolverine is writing Far Down
Chris
Below.
Condon.
And, yeah, Chris Collins writing it.
That guy.
Mm-hmm. Oh, he's good.
It did Info Gang Massacre, so it was pretty good.
Yeah, and you also have a video coming up today, right?
Yeah, today I'll have a video talking about the Superman, new Dan Slott Superman that we got for Free Comic Book Day. So I'll be going over that. So check that out.
Very, very cool. Do you appreciate it? Aaron Sparrow, are you recommending anybody crack open a comic book this week?
Yeah, I mean, G.I. Joe came out this week by Larry Hama. It's got a great cover
Pretty
by
awesome.
Andy Kubert, where Snake Eyes is putting on a Crimson Guardsman uniform. It's like that just shows you how great Kubert is, just by the fact that it's just a guy putting on a costume, but you're like, damn, this is a good cover. Like, I would buy a poster of this. It's just a guy putting on a costume. So they're killing it. Like I honestly, even if the book wasn't great, even if Larry wasn't firing on all cylinders, and we've got Paul Pelletier back on art this month, even if that wasn't happening, even if we weren't getting great Chris Mooneyham art, I would be buying it for the Kubert covers. I mean, I suffered through Larry's low point with Gallant's artwork, just because they were giving us great John Royal covers. So, but I actually highly recommend this book. I recommend the story that's going on. Like I said, Larry's revitalized. I picked up Space Quest. I have not read it yet. And Evandro, I am going to disagree with you in the chat on Captain Planet and the Planeteers being great. I thought it was filled with a bunch of modern deisms that completely ruined the story. So
I think if you like the Captain Planet cartoon when you were a kid, you'll like the comic book.
I don't know.
If you didn't like it as a kid, you're probably not going to like it even more.
I didn't mind the cartoon, but I thought the first half I thought was fine, but introducing each Planeteer the way they did, it got old. And after a fire, like they got pretty cringe. So
didn't it seem like Fire set that fire on purpose?
I mean, I didn't get that, but now that you mention it, yeah, it might be.
The way it's presented, it looks like he burnt the fucking thing down.
Maybe he did.
Hey, environmentalists are terrorists anyways, so
apparently. So yeah, I wasn't the world's biggest fan of Captain Planet, but I don't think I was the audience for that one anyway. So
right.
Hopefully somebody else enjoyed that one. Sparrow, do you have any other big appearances this week? People want to see as much Sparrow as they can get.
Do they? Are we doing Pop by Culture this week, Josh? Is this a Pop by Culture week?
Oh no.
This week. Yeah, this week's Tuesday we're doing our book club. So we're doing Saga of the Swamp Thing book 2. So if you want to join, Aaron, by all means, come discuss that book with us.
No, I don't want to do that.
Yeah,
so I'll probably hit up Jeff and see what. It's not that I wouldn't want to come on and talk about that. It's just that I have not read that recently, and I don't have a copy of it, and I don't have time to go out and find one.
No worries. So next week, the week after this should be Culture Popped. So.
Okay.
So how about this, fellas? Somebody posted it on the Twitter sphere. Riccardo Federici was posting some art on a book that he's working on right now that has been announced, and it's Swamp Thing. Tell me that doesn't sound amazing.
That sounds intriguing.
Yes, I'm very, very interested.
I've confused all of the Italian artists that have shown up in comics. I can't keep them straight anymore.
That's because you checked out 3 years ago.
Yes.
2 years ago. Yeah. You check back in and you'll know who Riccardo Federici is and why he's amazing. It's fantastic.
It's kind of like anime names. They all sound the same to me.
Very nice. Sully, do you got any books that you want to recommend or any shows or anything that people need to know about?
Yes, I go to my local comic book shop every Wednesday, every new release day, and I get floppies, funny books, you name them. I went in the dollar bin. Drop. I found this. I found floppy drop. I found in the dollar bin Daredevil 267. It's written by Ann Nesenti with great art by John Romita Jr., inked by Al Williamson. This is this came out when I was a freshman in high school, and it's actually refreshingly good to read an old Daredevil book and to remember how good Ann Nesenti once was way back in the day. It's a nice classic Copper Age book. And Wes, I took your advice and I picked up a random issue of Blade Runner. So I got Blade Runner 2019, a 0 issue, just so I could, I want to try it because you've raved about it a few times.
That's a good series right there.
Yes. Exactly. You were really positive about it, and I do listen and take suggestions from my friends. So yeah, I got it. It was pretty good, and I will read more. What I bought this week, though, on my pull list, Absolute Superman #7. I love this issue. Great art change. It's introducing the Absolute Brainiac, and he's got a lot of vibe. Like like Joker energy to him. He's mad. He's crazy. And there's a lot of horrific, grotesque death scenes of humans in this. And I don't know. It's this is a real good book. So this issue, I really liked it. G.I. Joe, this is 316. This is the Adam Kubert cover we were talking about. Snake Eyes putting on a CG uniform. CG stands for CG, not the crowdfunders. We're talking about Crimson Guards. And this is a pretty good issue. There's some melodramatic soapy notes in here too, with Cobra Commander, Destro, and Baroness having a dinner scene at the
Three-way?
Castle Destro. Oh, you wish.
Nah, Cobra Commander didn't get palled in that one. Thankfully.
The Sickness Returns on Uncivilized Books. This is issue 7 by Donnie Nadler and Jenna Cha. This is a really good book. It flies under everyone's radar. And it's a comic book lover's comic book. It's just black and white pencils, no inks, and it's just a weird, grotesque Twilight Zone kind of story. And it's out.
I think as a comic book reader, I like inks and colors. What are you talking about?
It sates my need to see black and white line art, and it's just really good. It's the opposite of the digital experience. But my pick of the week is Resurrection Man, Quantum Karma #2 by Ram V. We get some of the last work by Jackson Butch Geis. Juice.
Guys,
How do you say it?
Geis.
And same thing with Josh. I had to read it a second time, and then I'm like, oh boy, this is a really good book.
it's really good, actually.
I am really impressed with this. I feel
That was better than Teen Titans Go, actually.
Yeah, I mean, Ram V is definitely hitting that Grant Morrison kind of, big story with embracing mythologies and weirdness. It's just, he's not trying to ape Grant Morrison. He's just being himself. And I'm really liking Ram V. And those are my picks of the week. Thank you so very much.
Very nice. Last but not least, we do have the Docster here. Do you recommend any comic books?
Well, let's see. I'm going to recommend that folks go check out our review for All New Venom #6. When did you say that'll be up on the
Monday?
YouTubes? All right, and then tomorrow on Patreon.
Yes.
Well, I did not buy many comic books in the last couple of weeks. However, I did on my way back from Florida make a number of stops at Ollie's, and I hit, I don't know, not the jackpot, but a couple of nice pickups. So we'll start with, I don't know if anybody can see this. Can you?
So Ghostbusters,
it's the fucking Spangler neutrino wand. And I guess these things were they're hard to find in the wild. I like Ghostbusters just fine, but I saw it and I was like, this thing's dope. I kind of want one. So, for way less than normal price, I picked one up. So then from there, I picked this up, 2 weeks ago, but I didn't get a chance to read it until last night. So
very, very good.
It is. It's really freaking good. So yeah, we'll go with that. And then we have a couple more things. I just wanted a Sean Connery action figure. God damn it.
It's kind of cool.
And now I have one. And they also had an indie. The indie ones were the ones I didn't expect to see hit Ollie's, but they had indie. They had an Ilsa. They didn't have the old guy, the guy from the Crusader from the cave. Couldn't find him anywhere, but yeah. So I grabbed some indie figures. But yes, having a Sean Connery figure, that's what I want. I at least now because here's the thing. Yes, he looks like Henry Jones Sr., but he also just kind of looks like old Sean Connery. So it doesn't even have to be an Indiana Jones figure. It's just old Sean Connery. And I'm good with that. So those are my pickups for this week. mostly toys.
Very nice. I'm glad you enjoyed that G.I. Joe. That was a absolute banger of an issue a couple weeks back. I do want to say thank you very much to the entire panel here for joining us today. We will return next weekend for the Comics Aficionados, and it sounds like we will be having Comics Aficionados while I'm on vacation, at least for 2 of the weekends, but one of them, we're all going to be in Texas, essentially, so we won't be having that one, but you will get some Comics Aficionados even when I'm gone, so that'll be a lot of fun, and I do hope everyone has a fantastic weekend, and say la vie.
Kneel
Get
before
out.
Doomface.